Hypocrisy.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Law-Splaining the Interwebs. I am your host, Nick Rekieta of Rekieta Law, a small law firm in central Minnesota. Wow, I think my camera settings need to be adjusted. Woo! I'm very red on here, but I think that's a settings issue. How are you guys doing tonight? Sorry for the lateness. It is quintessentially that time of year. Hold on. Let's fix this. We really can. I promise we can actually go lighter here. That would be nice. Okay, that's better. Sorry, guys. What's shaking? What is shaking? I don't know what's up with the anything tonight. I'm running ragged and stretched thin with the end of the school year and kids and everything. So I apologize if I'm a little bit out of sorts on things, but there's a lot to talk about today. We have the Comey Indictment we've been talking about. We're going to talk about it a little more, but not to start. We're going to start off with the Supreme Court. We're going to do that, I think, and that'll get us going into everything else. We have the Supreme Court issuing a couple rulings today. One of them, I'm not going to talk about too much, is just allowing the morning after pill, well, one specific morning after pill, mifepristone or whatever, that, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something very unorthodox here. I'm getting a ton of video lag. I assume you guys are too, and it's going to bother me all night. So I'm going to be right back. I'm going to fix that. The stream's going to keep going. Everything will keep running. I'll be right back while we go ahead and I'm going to try something that tends to work to fix everything. I just have to shut down all my open browser windows and come back to it. So I'll be back in just a second. All right, guys, oh wait, you know what? We'll just do it. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back, sort of. Just loading up my camera. And we'll get back to it. I apologize. I apologize for the lack of professionalism. He doesn't even care. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So anyway, sorry for the late start. I thought about, I had an interview scheduled for tonight. I didn't And I wanted to do the interview. I haven't announced it, and I'll wait until we reschedule. But you know, it was an interview, and I agreed to do it, which I have no problem with that. What I have a problem with was I wasn't able to give it my full attention and focus going into it because of just being busy with family stuff. And so my apologies to that person, but we'll get it rescheduled. And hopefully have a good time. We can meet and talk to a new person. So we'll figure that out. So your boy got struck? Who? Camelot? Again? No. Just tonight? Oh man, I gotta catch up on everything. Let's see. It's amazing how he gets struck when he starts talking about a particular person, but that person isn't involved in it. You know, that's what I hear. I hear that the subject of Camelot's discussions lately are not involved. But who knows? It's just wild. Okay, so we've got some chats to hit here. There are a couple that came in before I started. D. What? 17 months a member saying, how was your weekend? It was pretty good. Pretty good weekend. But like I said, we're coming up to the end of the school year. We've got a graduating senior. It's a mess. So, you know, we're kind of running all over the place. Jim tells you, welcome to lawyer status, joining the illustrious ranks of membership. Although I think he already was a member, but when his channel got hit, I think it took it away. Something like that. So that's nice. I guess. Poor Jim. Jim got it rough. VVV Prince says, would you have any recommendations for an employment lawyer in South Dakota? Was recently denied a promotional opportunity shortly after filing a workers' comp claim, and I think it's related. I don't personally know any employment lawyers in South Dakota. However, one of my friends runs a civil litigation firm in the Twin Cities who may be licensed or have someone in his office licensed in South Dakota. I'll reach out and check. Send me an email and just say, like employment lawyer, South Dakota referral, please, or something. And I'll see if I can I'll see if I can have anybody in my network. Absolutely. Jeff Smith, whenever you start a stream, I have to sleep. Going to try and stay awake to watch live. Something I would only do for you. God bless you and your family. Aw, thanks, Jeff. Really appreciate that. Melody Couture, 3 months of membership and counting, which is good. We do want to be counting. Want to master those basic skills. Treasure Island says, well, looks like you're stuck with me. Lucky you. One year. 1 year of membership from Treasure Island. Thank you for that. DX Mania gifting 5 memberships. Welcome. That means that Treasure Island joined right as I kind of made my foray into returning. It's a long process to return to all of this from having to completely shut down. So it's been a long road, but it started, I was sentenced on April 18th of last year. So I started coming back right around this time. So thank you for joining up and hanging out. Very much appreciate that. And, oh, hey, the purple one is dropping jewels all over the place. Very cool. And if I didn't say it, I think I did. DX Mania gifting 5 memberships. That puts us at 6. That puts us at 6 to start. And we're just getting started. What's wrong with your internet? Count pixels. Camera is locked in potato mode. That one I don't know. Let's see. Settings. Yeah, it says it's on 1080p, but it is a little blurry or fuzzy on YouTube, isn't it? I have no idea. We'll just have to suffer. Hey, Nick, would Starlink help your situation? I don't know. The amount of times my internet causes trouble is actually still pretty minimal. It's just when it happens, it's really fucking annoying. But we're not going to focus on that. I think the camera stutter is a different issue that I don't have time to fix at this moment. We tried. We gave it our best and failed miserably, as always. But with that, we're going to get into these situations tonight. Make sure you guys, hey, if there are certain types of streams that you like and don't like, let me know always in the comments. Like, hey, I like this subject. I like this format. I like this thing. On Thursday, we had or was it Saturday? What day was that? We had a drop-in guest from Joe. Good logic. It had to be Thursday, right? It wouldn't have been Friday. But was it Saturday? I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Comey Indictment. May 1st. When was that? Was that Saturday? Oh, that was Friday. Wait, what? Oh, I started it late on the 30th. Like, there's no way that was Friday. That wouldn't work. Joe doesn't believe in Fridays. His people don't allow it. Okay, I need to get all my stuff set up now. Treasure Island, you just mentioned something, and I can talk about this briefly. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni have settled. I believe they've settled all issues prior to trial. Everybody was juicing up for that thing. It was going to be the biggest thing since chopped cheese or whatever. And it just completely and utterly fizzled out, which is amazing to me. That's very funny. It's gone. It's done. There won't be a trial. And yeah, so all the things people have been saying about it, will never be tested, which is always fun too. But that's how it goes sometimes, like that's that. Why is it so grainy? Just pulled it up on Rumble. Very grainy. See, it doesn't look grainy to me on StreamYard. So I don't see what you guys see on that stuff. I have no idea. It's really that bad, isn't it? It's like a really bad, really laggy internet. Okay. I like this one. It's likely grainy because you play video adverts while live. Yep, I do. And that would have nothing to do with it. Don't be silly. But I could restart my computer. That would probably fix it. But I don't want to do that. It takes too long. And I'd much rather just go on with the show. So let's see if we can suffer through. But yes, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively have settled all claims, and there will not be a trial. There will not be massive amounts of entertainment. There will not be streamers making more than they've already made. I mean, streamers have made a fortune off that case already, and especially streamers who don't actually seem to know anything about the law or what goes into it. But hey, who's counting? Who's judging? Stephen Crater says, I thought you were restarting last time. No, I wasn't restarting. I was just, I just closed out all instances of Chrome and Edge, and I got those cleared out and then came back. A lot of times that fixes the video lag, and the video lag is better. The graininess, I don't know, that's an internet issue, and I'm not sure what would be causing it, honestly. I'm hardwired in, and the internet's been fine, so it might be something that's going on the Supreme Court. On the Supreme Court. On StreamYard's end. Sorry, those two words were in the same spot. But I've almost got everything set up over here. Good Lord, sorry. I haven't been in my office at all. See, this is the problem. I haven't been in my office at all today. And so I'm like working on borrowed time, and I was already late, which is y'all's fault, really, when you think about it. Okay. I think we're here. Okay, let's see. So anyway, that's a roundabout whole bunch of things. On Thursday, my good friend Joe Good Logic was here, and we had a pretty good discussion. If you like discussions like that, and if you like those shows, make sure you click like, make sure you drop a comment about it. If you like these, it's grainy as what is happening over on Rumble? It's amazing. Oh, it's better. If you like these types of shows where it's just me rambling, let me know. If you hate them, also tell me. Just go ahead and say it. All right, we're almost there. I keep saying that, but we really are getting close. Oh my God. Okay. Holy cow, it cleared up. See? That's what I'm saying. Something else is going on. StreamYard's been called out on it, and they can eat shit. Speaking of being called out on it, last thing before we get into the topics tonight is I want to talk about something. Rumble. Big shout out to my Rumble people. Love you guys. This isn't about you. This is about Rumble as a platform. Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO of Rumble, is out making very, very spectacular claims about Rumble and how great it is towards creators. And all of the great opportunities for Rumble for growing your channel and stuff like that. Oh boy. All I have to say about that is best of luck to creators who are new starting out on Rumble or any platform. What you need to do is learn about how those platforms distribute content. And I think claims that Rumble is a great place to get started as a brand new streamer. I'm not quite sure I agree with those. I'm not quite sure that that's the most accurate representation of how Rumble's distribution algorithm works, or doesn't have one, or whatever. I don't know. And as for being a free speech platform, I hope that they are serious about that. I hope that they are doing well and honoring that. I don't 100% know if I have seen it demonstrated lately, but I hope it gets better. That's what I'm going to say. Let's see. Janie L. Vargas says Remedial Brown Jackson. Touche, Nicholas Lamau. Somebody reads the titles. Yes. Oh God, all the work that goes into those things. So, yeah, I don't know. all the claims about Rumble and monetization and how it's a great place for new creators. My average Rumble live stream, because Pavlovsky was out there talking about how there's whatchamacallit, the CTM rates for CPM rates for ads on Rumble are like $10. There's one with $70 CPM. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, but also not really. Like, also not quite. Like, that's live viewers CPM rates. Live viewers CPM rates don't really match up to anything. But I'll say this: I make significantly more on YouTube ads every stream than I ever make on Rumble ads ever, unless you do the ad reads, and those aren't much better. They're not much better. Rumble representing that they are a better monetizing platform than YouTube is kind of hard to stomach, honestly. If you don't have a written agreement with them, I don't know how people monetize. I'll have videos on Rumble do 30,000 views. They make less than $10 in ad revenue. It's like, okay, like that's not sustainable as a content creator. And they don't seem to have a distribution algorithm in general. So you have, you're relying on notifications, which are always wonky on every platform ever. That's not a Rumble specific problem. Or Rumble's editorialized front page, which is cool. It's cool that Rumble picks people and puts them, up front. I think that's a cool thing. But to make it out like a new creator, brand new, is going to start up on Rumble and get just front paged and get a ton of attention is out there. is out there. And I don't think that it's the best promise to make. But hopefully they work on it. I would love to see Rumble grow. I would love to see Rumble bring in more money to creators and more support and things like that. But at present, they talked to me about a lot of stuff that they wanted to do. And when we partnered up, and then they still have yet to do any of it at all. And I don't think that's entirely my fault. They never seem to have, like, they talked about it, they hyped it up, and then they just kind of sputtered out. And it's like they brought me to Rumble to promote the live streaming of trials and to show that side of YouTube. And then they never supported it at all, which is wild because they were paying for it. But they never supported that. They never wanted to build it out. And I had a ton of ideas to bring by them, and they just never were that interested. So anyway, I would love to have conversations with them again. I don't need like a contract or whatever, but I would love to see, to make some suggestions from the creator side on how to support their creator base. I'm not even talking about their viewers. I'm talking about from a creator perspective and things that I've gathered from other people that may not want to say anything about it because, everybody's looking to make what they can and get things done. You don't want to be shut out for an opinion. But anyway, I don't know, man. I would love to see it. Real Patriot Party says, I hope Rumble makes $1 million. I always meant that. Every single time. I meant it legitimately. I don't know why. Complete Random says, when they bought Locals and promptly ceased further development, it was clear Rumble was shit. It just happens to be the best option around, which tells you where we're at. I don't know that it is. And I really hate saying that. But right now, like YouTube has problems with AI moderation. We've seen a bunch of channels. We've seen a bunch of channels get hit by it, completely demonetized, flagged down. That's a bug. Well, I mean, I believe that that's a bug, and the evidence of that is a lot of those channels do tend to get, when they can finally get a person on there. And this is unacceptable customer service, don't get me wrong. But when they finally get a person to review it, it seems to get fixed. I think we're going to see less and less of that going forward. I got to say this, outside of that, YouTube has been very permissive on what can be said and monetized on the platform. Very permissive. I mean, I've dropped racial slurs. I've dropped sexual orientation slurs. I've dropped political slurs. I've dropped every kind of slur you can imagine, openly and notoriously, both before the third hour, after the third hour. It doesn't matter. They let you get away with a lot here on YouTube. And that wasn't the case before. That, I think, is Rumble's biggest threat, is that YouTube just, is reasonable on moderation. And then Rumble's in real trouble. Miss Sparkles says, nice tie. Why are you always late like a diva? Well, because my life is a never-ending ball of chaos. With something comes up every time I go to do anything at all. Something happens. There's always somebody somewhere in the house or in my life who needs something all the time. Unless I'm asleep. If I'm asleep, I get to sleep. I'll say that. I get to stay asleep, which is nice. I slept a lot today, for example, which I guess I needed to catch up on it. I'm not sure. But I slept a good amount today, and man, it was peaceful. It was peaceful sleep. But then I woke up and it's like, hey, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you help me with this? Can you go here? Can you drive there? And it gets just so busy. Up until I trying to get back to starting the show at 11 instead of 11:15 or 11:30. And still at 11 o'clock, I'm getting requests for, last minute food. I need something for school. I need help with this or that. And it's like, okay, those things have to get done. They have to get done. So I'm not like mad about them. It's just the reality that I'm dealing with. And the end of the school year is the worst. So Miss Sparkles says, I believe you. Could be you doing your makeup. I don't do makeup. I did have to. Someone said he's putting together his outfit now, right before the show started. That wasn't that far off. That was not that far off. I spent a rare day in a t-shirt today because I had labor-ish stuff to do around the house. It wasn't anything for the government. Don't worry. That comes later. Let's see. Okay. Let's, Mr. K says, what happened to the front bumper on your car? Well, I live in a state with deer, and sometimes you have to dodge them. And that happens. Sometimes they're unfriendly things in the median or the side of the road. So the front bumper is still there. There's just a part of it that got pulled off, which is fun. And there aren't a ton of front bumpers for GT 500s around, so it takes a little bit to get it fixed. But I'll get it fixed when I'm less busy, I guess. The other problem is you have vehicles and you like to drive them, so I can't always have it sitting somewhere else waiting for work to get done. But yeah, we'll get it fixed. It's just not the highest priority for me right now. I have other things I have to worry about. Ripped bumper, that's a bummer. I mean, there's no structural damage to the car, so I'm thankful for that. It just is the left front side of the bumper got kind of sheared off. And it's like, well, that's fine. But the car is functional, everything works okay. It still goes really fast, which is nice. And so it's like, well, I'll get it fixed when I can, but I really don't want it sitting somewhere for a couple weeks. Summer just started. But okay. Let's see. Mr. K, it seems to be a high priority for certain Twitter users. Yes, of course. Other people have they really like need it to be something else, and it's like, all right, guys, like, don't worry, I'll get it fixed. Like, calm down, it's okay. Warlock GCS says Shelby is awful proud of their bumpers too. Rip your wallet. Yeah, well, that's how it goes. Also, Ford and Shelby are no longer together, no longer licensing the Shelby name. So that's kind of interesting. And the new what would be a Shelby is the Dark Horse, the supercharged Dark Horse they're releasing or just released. And that thing looks sweet. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Let's talk Supreme Court, shall we? Should we do that? Should we do a law show here today, or should we just sit and talk about cars and internet drama and silly stuff? Slightly weird. Like, you start to get used to this after a while, but it should be noted that someone followed me around to take pictures of my car. And I know they're like, oh, no, I just saw him at an intersection. That's not true. And I know that's not true because I saw when the person first saw my car in a parking lot and went over to it and took a picture and then followed me to a different parking lot to take that picture. That's weird, buddy. That's weird. You should leave people alone. But hey, it's the internet. For some people, that's perfectly acceptable behavior, which is a little weird. But yeah.
Dear Tech Support, I thought I purchased a permanent membership last week, but I did it from the wrong email, and then got a chance to watch a stream. Is $100 a permanent or just a one-time donation?
You are one of the few people I wouldn't care if I just had to, but a new subscription. I appreciate you for everything over the years. Also, without you, I wouldn't have the fun hassling Megan.
By the way, she still thinks I am just J-Hip, so I prank her when I can. I was the one who tried to get her to sing Happy Birthday to Chris Benoit's wife. I wish I knew in advance when she was on. I don't think anything would make her lose her shit more than hearing that just J-Hip was your co-host for a day. But I love that she blames Jay. Gotta figure out how to make this more fun.
How you make it more fun is you just you ask Megan for advice, and then just don't follow it. That's the best. A Real Patriot Party says, "Have you named the knot yet?" Which that's disgusting. I'm just kidding. I'm just wearing a full Windsor today. This is a full Windsor, which, and I never used. I always just had a half Windsor, forever. But the full Windsor is very easy to tie. That's all this is. No, I mean, when I come up with a new, I did come up with a new knot. Wait a minute. You know what, guys? I'm lying. I actually have come up with 2 new tie knots now. Here we go. Hold on. I forgot about this one. Sorry. Where are we? I mentioned before, I'm working on a new tie knot that I can share with people, and I'm going to lose my mind. Here we go. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to. What the fuck? I don't want that. Okay. I'm really bad at this sometimes. Sorry. So I call this tie knot the Imholt. Just a second. Here we go. So there it is. That is the Imholt tie knot that I've been working on. I've been working on a couple different tie knots. This one, I don't know where I came up with that name. That's just there. Let's see.
Looking good, sucker. We gonna get into some SCOTUS shit, bruv. Kaiju Baboon Jerkson said she don't understand anything, and that Bud Lack Sheriff in Nylon's 30 felonies ain't Black History Month.
I don't even know what that said, but I agree with all of it. Here we go. James Lynch has become a YouTube member. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That puts us at 7. I think we need to go ahead and put up the member banner for today. Let's see. Yeah, seriously, the knot I'm working on, and I came up with one that was kind of cool. It was really complicated. It was really complicated, and I need to simplify it more. So I need a different approach, but we'll work on it. I'd probably just call it the Ricada knot or something, which has some other problems with it. James Lynch has gifted a membership as well. Thank you, James. Very awesome to have you here sharing your beautiful member. That's a raw and fresh and new member just being shared with the crowd like that. It was very reckless, but we appreciate that around here. Okay. Let's get into this. I've dilly-dallied long enough, and the purple one has similarly gifted a membership. Thank you to the purple one. Very much appreciate that. Where is it? Ketanji Brown Jackson and Samuel Alito have sparred verbally. And we're going to take a peek at the verbal sparring in just a second. But it's always interesting to see how they describe this stuff. And the Supreme Court argues with each other so directly, so little that, okay, go away. They directly argue so little that it's news when they do. What was this? Let's see. So here we have two. This is the Supreme Court at its extremes. We have an established, brilliant, decades-long jurist on the Supreme Court, author of dozens of impactful opinions, asker of questions, sayer of things, philosopher of law, Justice Samuel Alito. And on the left, we have the DEI hire, Ketanji Brown Jackson. So dumb, she couldn't even realize that better SEO if she was Ketanji Jackson Brown. Because at least she could ride the coattails of an American singer-songwriter. Instead, she doesn't know what coattails are because she's been foisted on the front of the cart based on very little more than her race and gender. And I have no problem saying this about the objectively... I want to say she's the dumbest justice, but I don't know if that's true because Sotomayor exists. Sotomayor exists, so I'm not sure if Ketanji Brown Jackson is the dumbest justice. They're both so fucking stupid. Sorry, I lost my temper. Where were we? Ketanji Brown Jackson is an overt DEI hire with Justice President Biden appointing her and saying, I just needed her to be black and female. He's straight out with it. Joe can always be counted on for a little bit of healthy racism. That's the only good thing about him. Epic Ninja Shiro says Sotomayor is correct more often than Jackson. Low bar that is. I don't know if that's true. It's a really tough call. She is so fucking dumb. But so is Sotomayor. God, it's bad. All right. So we had this little case that happened a couple of weeks ago. And this case is in Louisiana over these voting districts created by the Voting Rights Act. Now, the Voting Rights Act was an overtly race-based statute that required a minimal amount of states, southern states only, former slave states, to be punished in their districting to force them to atone for the crimes of 170 years ago or whatever it was. Is it 160 now? 160 years ago. And to atone for the crimes of 160 years ago, they are forced to create a racially beneficial district in their districting plans, which is nuts. So Louisiana was forced to, under the Voting Rights Act, create 2 majority black voting districts. And yes, they had to be majority black. That's a requirement that these two, or it was a requirement that these 2 districts, or that they create this majority black voting districts because of slavery. And think about what that means. Like, think about the idea that laws in 2026 are being enforced based on the idea that in 1860, a state was racist. Fuck that. The states are treated legitimately differently because of that. It's also been, funny story, a barrier to Republican domination in a lot of these states, because if you have to create a majority black district in 2026, it's almost guaranteed to be a Democrat district. And that, of course, is why the Democrats actually wanted to keep the Voting Rights Act around. It's not because they believe in some sort of racial equality or parity. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with overt political authority and the ability to force some Democrat seats in some of the most red states you can possibly find. That is the purpose of it. Well, the Supreme Court struck that down the other day and said, nope, Louisiana doesn't have to do that. But Louisiana is having their primary voting in their midterm elections, and they want to redraw the districts. Now, typically, after a Supreme Court ruling, you need 32 days of time for the Supreme Court to actually write up or get the order published and have it take effect. It's 32 days before that's cleared. And Louisiana says, we're in the middle of voting. Like, we either have to delay our votes for the new districting, or we need permission to do this now and not wait 32 days. And so the court issued a decision. Yeah, go ahead and do it, right? Like, go ahead and make that happen. It's not going to get appealed. It's an inevitability at this point. It is the final ruling of the court. So go ahead and do that. Well, Ketanji Brown Jackson has lost her shit over it. Now, this is important for one really specific reason. The liberals on the court have been accused of dragging their feet on any cases that have impact on the midterm elections, because they want to delay ruling on those cases until the voting in those states and in their individual districts and everything has sufficiently progressed to make it so that, well, any new decisions will take place next time, but that this vote will happen under the old rules. That's what they want, even though those rules are being found unconstitutional. And they know that if they bring in another case, that likely it's going to be found unconstitutional again. That's where we're at. And they know that they're losing on these issues. So they've been actively dragging their feet. They've been taking extra time to render these, to even take the cases and hear them and then render these decisions. So now we see it in full force that when Ketanji Brown Jackson, who's been doing this allegedly, doesn't get her way, she throws a tantrum like a well-adjusted adult. And we're going to take a peek here at the decision itself. It's only 7 pages. So I figured we could actually just read it, right? Feel like we could read it real quick. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read it backwards. Not like backwards. I'm going to read it in reverse order. I'm going to read it as, I'm going to read the dissent first. And then we'll go back and read the opinion. I think it's tempting because the opinion is the controlling document of the court to always read the opinion first. But sometimes the opinion addresses things that have happened in the dissent. And of course, the dissent sometimes addresses things that have happened in the opinion. And so it kind of just depends what you're looking for. Usually the opinion always the opinion is published first, with the dissent or concurrences and dissent following, because the opinion is what matters. That's a controlling law of the court, right? But sometimes it's useful to read them in reverse order. And so we're going to read, like we're only 3 pages for the main opinion of the court. And then we have page 4, 5, 6, and 7. So 4 pages of dissent. So she's got more dissent than there is even opinion. So this will be great. But this is the genius of Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, Supreme Court justices also, they have they have clerks, and a lot of the drafting is probably not done by the justices themselves, although some of the major ideas will definitely be. But they get a lot of assistance. Speaking of assistance, Third Railify over on Rumble has raided the stream like it was an open butthole. Just waiting. Thank you, Third Railify. Welcome to you and your viewers. It is warm and tight in here, so we think you'll enjoy it. All right. Without further ado, we're going to read Ketanji Jackson Brown. Wait, Brown Jackson. Now I'm stuck on. I'm going to think that forever. I was made for America. All right, so here's her dissenting opinion. The court's decision in these cases has spawned chaos in the state of Louisiana. I mean, the state of Louisiana is asking for the chaos. That's the best part. The state's like, hey, we want to get rid of these unconstitutional districts and go ahead and have the voters voting on constitutional districts. We think that would be the important thing to do. It would be the smart thing. She's like, it's spawned chaos. It's like, not really. Actually, I don't think so. Louisiana's primary elections were scheduled to take place on May 16th. Accordingly, the state mailed ballots to overseas and military voters on April 1st and to other voters who qualified to vote by mail on April 26th. By April 29th, the date on which the court released its decision holding that Louisiana's current congressional map is an unconstitutional gerrymander, see Louisiana versus Calais, some Louisiana voters had already mailed back their filled-in ballots. Now, it's interesting is, of course, this was a gerrymander. Gerrymandering is a specific construction of a political map for the purposes of X. Now, some people say it's for the purposes of maintaining power or whatever. And we can say at the higher level, all that's true. But what this gerrymander was for creating districts for black people under the Voting Rights Act. And that was considered to be an unconstitutional gerrymander. What is a constitutional gerrymander is to protect your political power. That's what the rules are for. That's the funny thing that people are always like, they're drawing these maps just so they can get more Republicans in office or Democrats. Yes. Yep. That's the point. That's how we do it. That's what political power is. That's why the votes matter. The votes matter because they redraw the maps. The votes matter because they set policy. The votes matter because they levy and collect taxes, duties, and excises and then spend them. The votes matter. If none of this stuff operated, then none of it, like on political power, then none of it would matter. And why would we do it in the first place? We could just be ruled by a book of some sort. There's someone that does that, maybe like a religion. But all of these actions matter. And yes, gerrymandering is about often about securing political power. And the amazing thing is we still have churn in Congress. We still have churn on the political spectrum of the United States at all levels. Despite the ability to draw maps that are favorable to their own reelection, people still get unelected. It's shocking how representative republics seem to have figured out a system that does ultimately pass power back and forth pretty regularly and give, the opportunity to step in even when things are unfair. And there's a whole lot of reasons for that. But I always find it amazing because people always bitch about gerrymandering. Both parties do it. Everybody does it. It's supposed to be that way. That's the way it's supposed to go. Now, obviously, I am an adherent to the original model. 30,000, every 30,000 people gets one rep. And we have a whole bitch load of these guys. They don't make any money and they don't have any power. That's what I wanted, but we decided to stop doing that. All right, so here we go. So the current congressional map is an unconstitutional gerrymander. Some Louisiana voters had already mailed back their filled-in ballots. Okay, burn them. Who cares? Send out new ones. The very next day, Louisiana's governor declared that Calais, I don't know how to pronounce it, Calais, effectively revives the lower court's prior injunction against the current electoral map and suspended the ongoing primary elections for seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. And this is, of course, a practical matter, right? If you don't know what the map is supposed to be, because the map that you had was just found unconstitutional, you need a different map. And until they sort out maps, they can't really have people voting because they might have people voting in the wrong district. So you have a practical matter of we need to solve this, combined with a serious constitutional question. And back to this thing. Here we go. For its part, the 3-judge court below declared that due to Calais, Louisiana will be afforded the opportunity to enact a constitutionally compliant map right now for the election in progress. Listen to this. Listen to how dumb this woman is. And ordered the state to file a brief outlining how it intends to comply with the Calais decision within 3 days. That for the election in progress, right? That's an angry little tag right there. The election's already going. What are they doing? Except it ignores right before that it's unconstitutional. The map that exists for the election that's in progress is unconstitutional. It's a violation of the Constitution. She just overlooks that. She's like, so what? It's already in progress. Sorry, bitch. That's not how it goes. That's not how it goes around here. We're going to make this as racist as possible. Around here, I don't know how people read or don't back where you come from. But around here, we believe in a constitution. We believe in our forefathers. Never mind. I'm going to get too racist there. We're going back to the 60s. 1960s? The 1960s. But anyway, she's bitching that they're trying to have a constitutionally compliant map, which is crazy sauce. Crazy sauce. Let's see. Order. So citing the order in Calais. Apparently, neither the governor nor the 3-judge court viewed themselves as limited by the fact that this court had yet to issue its certified judgment in these cases. In the ordinary course, we do not do so until at least 32 days after the opinion is released. So, they don't need it in 32 days. They need it now. She's mad that she's like, well, we said it was unconstitutional, but it won't take effect for 32 days. But then it will be unconstitutional. That's her argument. It's that dumb. It's actually that stupid. Her argument is, we have said it will be unconstitutional, but the paperwork hasn't cha-chinged in the, in the cash register yet. So therefore, you should proceed with an unconstitutional outcome instead. She's that fucking retarded. Coding ATC says, the salt is so tasty, this hippopotamus is losing weight using it in lieu of food. Oh my gosh. The felon attorney says, Nick, the S is silent in French like that, so it's pronounced Calais. Yeah, I wasn't sure if it was a French. I mean, I should be assuming that because it's in Louisiana, and you can admonish me for that all you want. You can do that. You'll be banned and hunted down like the dog you are, but you can be critical of me. It's okay. No, thanks. Thanks for letting me know. Like, my brain just wasn't putting together that it is probably in the French because Louisiana. That's my friend. Don't talk to him. Wait, what? All right. So, yeah, we did not do so until at least 32 days after the opinion is released. So new litigation followed. Yes, they have an emergency issue. They need the court's help. A candidate and Louisiana voters who have already submitted their ballots filed suit against the governor and the Secretary of State, asserting that whatever might happen to Louisiana's congressional map in the future, this election is already underway and must continue pursuant to the current maps. Oh, really? Again, we know it's unconstitutional, but it must pursue under the unconstitutional maps. That's what they want. And of course they want this. This unconstitutional map effectively guarantees 2 Democrat seats in Louisiana. Without this map, I don't know that they get any. I don't know that they get any Democrat seats in Louisiana. Could be a clean sweep. 6 Republican electoral votes. That's what scares them. Or, well, 6 Republican seats. It would be 6 Republican votes either way. Only a couple states split them.
Motherfucker ain't hard out here for a pimp. Baboon Jerkson would let me be on the bench. Introduce that hoe to Kurt for the Instapot micropene. Nate did a video on first black female sheriff of New Orleans.
Oh God, I bet that's a disaster. Hard out here for a pimp. I agree. Speaking of being hard for a pimp, Good Logic has rated the show both on YouTube and on Rumble, it seems. Thank you very much to my good friend Joe, good man, Good Logic, and to Stephen Crater. It has picked up the raids. The raids are being picked up by the rant thing, so my rant window did get updated. Thank you. Thank you for fixing that, man. It's really awesome it's cool to see improvement on that. It would be cool if like Rumble did that too. Like if Rumble would improve their stuff based on, and not why you have to have a third party extension to have your rants like kept in a specific place is nuts. That's nuts. Jeff Smith says you and Joe should have a twice a month stream, rotating channels. Love also your solo streams, especially when analyzing Kurt's legal opinions. And Kurt has gone through the Comey indictment. After his SPLC one, I'm like really tempted to go through it, but it's almost 2 hours long. I don't want to do that on like this stream, but maybe a members only stream sometime like tomorrow or something like that. Marcy Cruz has gifted 5 memberships. What up, Marcy? Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. Thank you for sharing your member with so many people. So many people needed what you had to give them. Okay, let's pull this back up. I think I forgot. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so they're saying this election is already underway and must continue pursuant to the current maps. Meanwhile, to facilitate Louisiana's midstream redistricting rush, appellees now ask us to expedite release of the certified judgment in Calais. Now, and again, all of this is caused by an unconstitutional act called the Voting Rights Act. Let's just remember that the Voting Rights Act restricts traditionally Republican states in the South from drawing their districts the way that Democrats would. Democrats would draw it favorable to them, and that's fine because that includes black people. Republicans draw a map favorable to Republicans, and apparently black people no longer exist. I don't know how the math on that works, but that's what they say. That's what they say. It's very much a rules for thee and not for me approach to everything. The Voting Rights Act should have always been unconstitutional, even if we could determine at a prior date, the southern states really needed some wrangling on their voting stuff. And I think we can agree that some of them were doing some pretty bad shit. That's true. But that was 150 plus years ago. Like, it's crazy now to have laws still doing that when they're, now it's basically Republicans want to win a bunch of seats and Democrats do too. So when they take power in a state, they redistrict things to make it more favorable for their own reelection. And that's how the system is intended to work. It's not cheating. That's how it goes.
The Conji Barn Jackson ish is why we getting rid of the Browns. Only districts keeps them peoples out of the orifices.
Okay, so here we go. Let's see. These post-Calais developments have a strong political undercurrent. No. Louisiana's hurried response to the Calais decision unfolds in the midst of an ongoing statewide election against a backdrop of a pitched redistricting battle among state governments that appears to be acting as proxies for their favored political parties. No, it's just a redistricting fight. They all look like this. They all do. But the only reason that this even had to happen is because of the fucking gay Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act, which hasn't had a place in America for at least my entire life. At least my entire life, if not longer. The Voting Rights Act has been out of place and not necessary. But that being said, that's the only reason that this fight is going down this way. Because they drew a map and an appellate and a court said, no, not good enough. And then they went to the Supreme Court and said, actually, no. Like, this lower court was wrong. But the court that issued the wrong decision based on a law that they've interpreted the wrong way, that we're supposed to keep that one and not go with the correct one. Okay, got it. Here we go. And of course, I haven't been getting into this, but absolutely true. Perdicka says that was when they were Democrat state. The irony is palpable. 100%. Okay, so here we go. Here we have a couple footnotes. The first footnote is up here. I missed it. It was up top here. is where the first footnote comes in. So let's read that real quick. In today's order, the court offers that Louisiana does not oppose the Calais plaintiff's application, suggesting that this is a point in favor of the court's decision to grant the request. But the reason that Louisiana takes no position on the Calais plaintiff's request is that neither the governor nor the legislature views the state's ability to immediately produce a constitutional map and electoral process as contingent upon when this court transmits its opinion and judgment. Why would they? Why would they do that? So what she's saying is that their determination of how to comply with the Constitution, right, isn't taking into account that the court has a filing system that takes, for some ungodly reason, in 2026, it takes a month for them to release the opinion and make the judgment official. Think about that. Think about that. That's how our courts still operate. They know 32 days ahead of time what the answer is, and they tell everybody, like, okay, the answer is going to be this. But you got to wait a month for us to make it officially the answer. But it is officially the answer. You've released the opinion. You've rendered your judgment. We know what it is. Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting 32 days from when an opinion comes out to make it law? It will be law. It is not getting stopped. There is no mechanism by which that opinion will be challenged, redacted, or pulled back. The circumstances under which the prevention of that decision becoming law could exist are so far outliers that, like, it's hard to even come up with what they would be outside of, like, civil war, outside of an overt disregard of them by the executive, but it would still be law. It would still, all of that would still happen. So the fact that we have a 32-day delay baked into the Supreme Court is strange. It's completely pointless. But what's more pointless than that is having a justice arguing that because that paperwork hasn't been filed, that the opinion that will take effect the moment it's filed should not apply to an election. An unconstitutional election is occurring according to the Supreme Court, and Ketanji Brown Jackson's like, but we haven't filed the paperwork though. Like, we haven't filed it yet. It's like the most red tape administrative bureaucrat look at things that you could possibly have. It's like, well, we know it will be fine, but you got to file it first. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Huh? What? Why are we waiting? Why are we waiting on this at all? Now, they're, again, putting yourself in the shoes of Louisiana, they're in the middle of an election, and that election has maps where people are voting, like determine where they literally go to vote, who they can vote for, where their votes are being are counting, are going to matter. That's happening now. And they're saying they should do it knowingly unconstitutionally. That's what Ketanji Brown Jackson is saying. It's fucking stupid. Again, absolutely a remedial student in life. Okay, so here we go. A redistrict. So she has some secondary authority here, which means it's authority that's not a Supreme Court case. This is an Associated Press article. So this is just a citation for footnote 2. Back to it. And as always, the court has a choice. By my count, we have granted an application to issue the judgment forthwith over a party's objection only twice in the last 25 years. Who cares? This is a fallacious approach to answering a question. Should we do this thing now? The answer should be, is it correct? Not, have we done it before? I don't know how often to say this. This is something I would always run into when debating Roe versus Wade. Everybody would say, well, it's the law of the land. Okay, but is it correct? Doesn't that matter? You're okay with having an unconstitutional or an incorrectly reasoned or ruled law because it is, like, because it's there. And they're like, yeah, they shouldn't change it because of that. But that doesn't make any sense. If you know it's wrong, change it. It might be hard. You might have to figure out like some path to getting things on the right, on the right track. But if it's wrong, you fix it. At least that's, I don't know, maybe I'm unique in that. Jim tells you, says, the reason Alito isn't taking this is because his opinion was done in January. The dissent delayed and delayed, causing it to come out this late. They've done this several times on important cases. I think you mean on important cases. Yes, and I discussed that a little bit earlier. I alluded to it, that has been the thing. And this little outburst from KBJ is kind of displaying that. So here we go. To avoid the appearance of partiality here, we could, as per usual, opt to stay on the sidelines and take no position by applying our default procedures. Yeah, so someone who's sworn to uphold the Constitution is saying that the court, which upholds, defends, defines, and declares the Constitution, Marbury versus Madison, we say what the law is. She's saying that body should sit on the sidelines and allow an unconstitutional thing to occur because of paperwork timelines. Unreal. Unreal. So here we go. But today the court chooses the opposite. Not content to have decided the law, that means it did decide the law, it now takes steps to influence its implementation. No. And again, this isn't the court saying, okay, we need you to do it this other way. We need you to do it this other way. And you have to do it now. This is the court saying the way that you were forced to do it was unconstitutional. The court is just undoing a wrong. That's what it's doing here. And think about the implications of what KBJ is saying here. She's saying that if an appellate court makes its timing on releasing the ruling strategic, the appellate court can allow an advantageous, unconstitutional position to cement itself in the American political process. It can choose to allow something that the Constitution finds abhorrent for political purposes. That's what she's advocating here. She's advocating that the Supreme Court allow an unconstitutional election, a constitutionally offensive election, to occur because it already started. But it wasn't the state's impetus to start it, or to have this unconstitutional ruling binding them. It wasn't the state's, and the state won when it took that issue to the Supreme Court. Now she's saying, well, the state gets relief, but next time. Why is that? Why is that? Because she wants those seats. Coding ATC says, imagine applying this logic to a finding that a capital sentence is unconstitutional, but the state still has 32 days to get it done. Yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Sorry. 32 days. You get executed in 28. Fuck you. Real Patriot Party says, their go-to excuse is always precedent when they know it's unconstitutional, regardless of the BS. Precedent they'll rely on. SCOTUS has some very unconstitutional habits and should be accountable. Well, the Supreme Court started off with a very unconstitutional habit, and that was Marbury versus Madison when they decided that they had judicial review. Constitutional review of laws. That's not in Article 3. It's not there. They just got it. They took it. Okay, so here we go. The court's decision to buck our usual practice under Rule 45.3 and issue the judgment forthwith is tantamount to an approval of Louisiana's rush to pause the ongoing election in order to pass a new map. Rush to pause. We're trying to go really fast to stop. This is a weird phrase, right? Yes, they're trying to pass a new map, one that complies with the Constitution rather than is offensive to it. You dumb bitch. Like, that's what they're for. That's what you guys decided. Okay, so here we go. Number 3. Here she calls out Alito in her footnote. And this probably pissed him off. Contrary to Justice Alito's charges. I mean, calling out a justice like this is pretty rare. You know, she might say, contrary to the court's or the concurrence's charges. My conclusion here does not require that the 2026 congressional elections in Louisiana be held under a map that has been held to be unconstitutional. And that's what you're arguing. You're saying they have to do that because it's already in place. Ante at 1, opinion concurring in grant of application to issue the judgment forthwith. But he is correct to observe that I am neither claiming that it is now too late for the state legislature or the district court to adopt a new map that complies with the Constitution, nor asserting that it is not feasible for the elections to be held under such a map. Indeed, my preference is for the court to stay out of all this. And the best way to do that is to stick with our default procedures. But by the court staying out of this, it goes against what you just said. It is the majority that opts to do otherwise. The Democrats in Louisiana asked the court for this. They asked the court. The court is responding to the Democrats in Louisiana. The Republicans didn't. The Republicans challenged. Actually, no, the Republicans wrote a map that they thought was Voting Rights Act compliant. The Democrats challenged that map, and they had to draft a new map with 2 black districts. That's how this procedurally started. But then when the Republicans won at the Supreme Court, when they won, the Democrats in Louisiana went to the Supreme Court and said, please stop the Republicans from changing the election, force them to use the unconstitutional map. That's the procedural posture here. It's really kind of daft how it's coming out where she's saying that the Supreme Court should stay out of it. The Democrats asked for their intervention. They asked for it. So let's see. It is the majority that opts to otherwise, thereby seeming to endorse Louisiana efforts to change its congressional map during this primary election before the pending lawsuits have a chance to play out. But we know how they're going to play out. We know how that's going to happen. Oh no. Ken Krause says you are not entertaining. Who are you? You're not talking to me. Certainly you wouldn't be talking to me. That would be wrong. Okay, so back to here. The footnote is done. And make no mistake, that course of action does not follow from the Calais decision itself. The question, it's Calais, isn't it? It's not Calais. It's Calais. I hate this. I hate this name. The question whether our decision should affect the map to be used in the ongoing primaries raises a host of legal and political questions that are entirely independent of the issue in Calais. Among the legal ones, there's the court's previous insistence that even at the cost of letting partisan gamesmanship corrupt our democracy, courts should not risk assuming political responsibility for a partisan map drawing process that often produces ill will and distrust. They're not. They're not taking responsibility for it. That's a stupid position. Let's see. There is also the so-called Purcell principle, which we invoked only 5 months ago to chide a federal district court for improperly inserting itself into an active primary campaign. But they didn't. They were asked. The court unshackles itself from both constraints today, yes, and dives into the fray, yes. And just like that, those principles give way to power. Because this abandon is unwarranted and unwise, respectfully, I dissent. Okay, so there we have the D student's opinion. Now we're going to go read the A student, which is, of course, Alito. A for Alito.
Can a justice be removed except for impeachment from Congress? Because this bitch got to go. She's ridiculously incompetent, embarrassing, micro-peen.
You know, it's hard to say if there's any other mechanism for removing a Supreme Court justice, but impeachment seems to be the way. It says they'll serve on good behavior, but well, that might be the district court judges. Serve a life term on good behavior, but I think that's the Article 3 restriction as well. But it seems like the only mechanism for showing bad behavior would be an impeachment. So practically, I think that's the way. Well, there is one other way than impeachment, and that would be a constitutional amendment. Call a constitutional convention and have a constitutional amendment says no Ketanji Brown Jackson allowed on the Supreme Court. Amendment 29 or whatever. 28, 29. All right, here we go. So here's Alito's opinion on the matter. To permit the losing party time to file a petition for rehearing, the clerk of court ordinarily waits 32 days after the entry of the court's judgment to send the opinion and a certified copy of the judgment to the clerk of the lower court. This period is subject to adjustment. The default applies unless a court or a justice shortens or extends the time. That's in the rule. It's in the text of the rule, though. The Calais appellees have asked for the clerk to issue the judgment forthwith so that in the event of a judicial remedy, the district court may oversee an orderly process. Appellant Louisiana does not oppose this application, and while the Robinson appellants oppose it, they have not expressed any intent to ask this court to reconsider its judgment. Thus, the application to issue the judgment forthwith presented to Justice Alito and by him referred to the court is granted. So that's the synopsis of what happened. Speaking of a synopsis, we are at 14. That's right. 14 memberships for the night. Your participation in bringing new members in the community is always appreciated and very, very much fapped to. That does happen on occasion. I'm lonely like at night. And I just need something. Just kidding. But it is a big thank you to all the people who have joined the membership train and all of those who have sent those gifted memberships out. Very much appreciated. Okay, so Justice Alito, with whom Thomas and Gorsuch join, concurring. Oh, Espresso D says there's also smothering with a pillow, as we found out recently. That's correct. We found out you can remove a sitting laying down Supreme Court justice, by smothering with a pillow and then shipping his body away before an autopsy could occur. Oh my gosh. All right. The dissent in this suit levels charges that cannot go unanswered. Look at this. The opinion of the court opens with an outright lashing of the dissent. That is the start of it. This is about as close to a crash out as you get from a Supreme Court justice. Pendar, member for 14 months. That's a long member. Wow. Says, because I'm cool like that. That's true. That is true. Pendar is cool like that. I agree. Thank you. Thank you for your continued beautifully long member. All right. The dissent would require that the 2026 congressional elections in Louisiana be held under a map that has been held to be unconstitutional. Asterisk. That constitutional question was argued in conference nearly 7 months ago. This isn't new. This isn't new. The dissent does not claim that it is now too late for the state legislature or the district court to adopt a new map that complies with the Constitution. Nor does the dissent assert that it is not feasible for the elections to be held under such a map. Instead, the dissent offers 2 reasons for its proposed course of action. One is trivial at best. The other is baseless and insulting. Straight anger. I'm going to send him to anger management. He's going to throw a desk out a window and then a puppy is going to follow. I don't want that to happen to Alito. We don't have many friends left on the court. By the way, speaking of friends on the court, I never actually posted the super tip link, but here it is. I know Neurodivergent has been posting those links. But here oh wait, here we go. Boom. Take that. I took over your pinned message. Wait, we got Psycher Carrig says, I'm sorry, wait, do you mean judges can physically be removed with a pillow, or are we referencing a historical event I'm unaware of? Justice Scalia was hunting down in Texas with his son, and he was at a ranch with some other people, and he woke up dead with a pillow over the top of his head, and it was determined to be natural causes, no foul play involved. And that was determined by an autopsy that wasn't done because the body was shipped away and cremated prior to being examined, which is amazing to think that a sitting Supreme Court justice with openly hostile comments from the president of the United States at the time, Barack Obama, that a sitting Supreme Court justice can die in his sleep under a pillow and there's no medical examination. Nothing at all. Unreal. Knock it off, Fleur F says, as a member in good standing, I await the VOOPOO. I'm waiting for I went to my P.O. box today, but I didn't go during business hours. So I think I might have to sign for it or something. But I haven't seen it yet. But yes, the pillow incident is Justice Antonin Scalia, an overt conservative historical text, originalist, I should say, and a staunch defender of liberty in many contexts, although not in all of them. He's a hero of mine, even though he has some really shitty decisions too. But yeah, he just miraculously died in his sleep with no, other than being old, no acute health problems reported, and his body just wasn't examined. It was just cremated and gotten rid of. We remember for 27 months, the 27 Club. That's almost twice as long as the longest member we've seen today. So that's pretty good. You really whipped it out. Good job. Okay, so here we go. The first, so these are the 2 bases for the proposed course of action. The first is compliance with the 32-day default rule set out in this court's Rule 45.3. But as the court's order explains, there's good reason to depart from the default rule here. The principal reason for the 32-day default rule is to give a losing party time to prepare a petition for rehearing. But here, the Robinson appellees have not expressed an intent to file such a petition, much less set out any ground on which a petition might be based. You don't often hear about rehearings before the Supreme Court. And the need for prompt action by this court is clear. The date scheduled for the beginning of early voting in the primary election has already passed. The congressional districting map enacted by the legislature has been held to be unconstitutional, and the general election will be held in just 6 months. They're saying we got to move now. We have to move now. The second reason offered by the dissent is that we should allow the 32-day period to run out in order to avoid the appearance of partiality. But the dissent does not explain why its insistence on unthinking compliance with, brutal. But unthinking is just how Ketanji spends her day. That's her normal state. That's the default. Does not explain why its insistence on unthinking compliance with Rule 45.3's default rule does not create the appearance of partiality by running out the clock on behalf of those who may find it politically advantageous to have the election occur under the unconstitutional map. Right? He's saying the decision to not intervene is a decision. It is a decision. It is a choice. In as much as the choice to intervene is a choice, the choice to not intervene is also a choice. Those are real things. And so they're saying, like, how can you say that that's not being partial one way or another? And in reality, decisions, especially at the Supreme Court level, are partial. They're not impartial. I mean, they are based in an impartial assessment of the law, but they do pick a party to rule in favor of. One side of the argument is correct on each issue, and the other side is incorrect on each issue. They're not always all correct on all issues. Either way, it's, but there are issues in the case, and on each issue, one party is right and one party is wrong. It's partial by definition. Deciding a winner is partial. So, of course, choosing to not intervene is similarly partial. Let's see. The dissent goes on to claim that our decision represents an unprincipled use of power. Quote, and just like that, those principles give way to power. That is a groundless and utterly irresponsible charge. What principle has the court violated? The principle that Rule 45.3's 32-day default period should never be shortened even when there is a good reason to do so. The principle that we should never take any action that might unjustifiably be criticized as partisan. The dissent accuses the court of unshackling itself from constraints. It is the dissent's rhetoric that lacks restraint. And there we go. That is Alito just dressing down, which is hard to do because she doesn't dress up. Dressing down Ketanji Brown Jackson. That's all he does. You notice he doesn't actually really justify anything in his opinion. His opinion is entirely a scorching of that dummy. At least her dissent, she lays out what she thinks should happen, etc. Alito's like, here's what the rule says. We followed the rule. By the way, fuck that dummy. Straight out. She's wrong, and it needs to be addressed. She's so wrong that I have to write an opinion about it. It's like making someone chase you. Like, how irritating. I shouldn't even have to address this. But here we have it. And this fragile idea that the court is, this unified body of colleagues who may have ideological differences, but are characteristically frictionless with each other. That's starting to shake apart. But look why. For all of the accusations that they're conservative partisan justices, etc., the Democrats brought in 3 overtly brash, unprincipled, partisan dummies who all happen to be women. Sotomayor's questionable about that. I don't know if that's a woman or a chalupa, but it's one of those two. And I'm not even one who would say that that's the reason for it. I don't believe that they're cantankerous and argumentative and nagging and bad with time management because they're women. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the Democrats knew exactly who they appointed. They appointed people specifically to be combative, cantankerous, and disagreeable with the court. That's why they exist. That's the role they want them in. And they talk about like, oh, the court's trustworthiness and unity and all that stuff is being called into question. They brought that. They intentionally recruited from that lesbian softball bench to bring these hoes up to the big leagues. And when they did, they brought dissonance to the court. They brought a rift. And they thought, I believe, that they could emasculate Roberts. That they could emasculate Roberts because he's such a bitch anyway. That they would do that and that he would start to side with him. Roberts hasn't particularly sided with the Democrats any more than he already had. He already kind of was doing that before we had, Sotomayor and Kagan and KBJ on there. Roberts has been kind of a shit guy for a while. So anyway, bringing them up was to create discord on the courts. And whatever you think about Trump and his election, know this, and I'll say this, full confidence. I know I'm right on this. There was a plan for Joe Biden to stack the courts. If Joe got a second term, or if Kamala was there was a legitimate, real plan. And I guarantee you, this giant faggot we're going to talk about in a minute, Mark Elias, was involved in this. Because this is what it was all about. This is what stealing 2020 was about. This is what trying to prevent Trump from even being able to run in 2020, in 2024. All of this, all of the opposition, everything has been building to a justification for Joe Biden and maybe his successor to stack the courts in favor of the liberal side of the bench and shut out the aging old white men conservatives. 100%. That was the intent. That's what it was going to be. We were going to move on from a 9-person court. We were going to go ahead and see what happens when a president just appoints more justices, because there's no constitutional limit. That 9-justice limit that's in the Judiciary Act of 1802 or whatever. Well, it wasn't 9 justices back then. I think it was 6. That limit is likely unconstitutional, has no basis in the text. And so in theory, a president can just appoint more judges. If they have the Senate can confirm those judges. But the Democrats haven't had the Senate along with the presidency to do that in a way that would allow them to stack the courts and maintain power. You may not think that they can do that for whatever reason because there's some law on paper, but guess what? You appoint 6 or even 9 more justices that all agree with your position, and when the question of whether or not you can appoint more justices reaches the court, guess who decides it? Yeah, of course they can appoint us. It's awesome. NZ Kiwi NZ. Wait, so this is New Zealand? Kiwi New Zealand says, wow, the USA voted a black president. I was proud. It's time for a female president. I did not trust Hillary, but no way would I vote for Trump nor him again. Wait, what? Aren't you from New Zealand? I'm going to need to clear this up. So you're not an American, right? Says yes, which I assume is the New Zealand question. You're not an American, correct? That's what I need to know. I'm waiting. I'm waiting for this answer. I need to know. I'm never going to answer. Yes, I am New Zealander. Okay, right. Yeah. So no, you wouldn't vote for Trump. You wouldn't vote in our elections at all. And why is it time for a female president? The most devastating question you can ask someone who's spent and I'm not trying to be mean to New Zealand, Kiwi New Zealand. But the most devastating question you can ask someone when they propose like a weird political position is why? It's time for a female president. Why? Because we haven't had one. So what? Well, but it's time for one. Why though? What about a female president is desirable? Well, we need to have a female president. But why? What about the gender of the president matters at all? How is this thing that you're proposing must happen? Why should it happen? It doesn't make any sense. Why is that? So if you want to share why you believe it's time for a female president, please do so. Anybody can answer that question, by the way. But like, just because, we haven't had one. So what? We haven't had a midget president either. Well, don't count out Dinklage. No, it's the excellent question. Why? But we haven't had one. Who cares? What does that matter? Like, I don't care if we've never had a female president. I don't care if we never do. I also don't care if we do. Like, I don't mind either way. Are they the right person for the job? Flightless says this is completely derailing the combo. Well, the conversation about the Supreme Court's largely done. We're going to move on to Comey in a second. I just wanted to bitch about something for a minute. But I mean, it is relevant to Ketanji Brown Jackson though as well, because Ketanji Brown Jackson was specifically appointed to the court because she was black and female. That's what Joe Biden's first requirement was. He said, first, I need to find a black and a female one. Oh, okay, Joe. That's nice. And then he had to find one that had sufficient qualifications. Not that they were the most qualified candidate, but they had sufficient qualifications to make it onto the bench. We've seen now, of course, that she is not sufficiently qualified. Kate of the Swiss says, I don't trust women enough to put them in positions of power. We see what they do now. The only vote I'd give women is a vote of no confidence. Well, damn. Kate of the Swiss doesn't trust women on the issue of any issue, any of them at all. My whole thing is, I just don't see any reason for us to push for any particular thing. Like, we just find someone who's able to garner the votes. Okay, cool.
Yay, suffocation is a natural cause of death. It's natural to die of death if you get shot in the heart as well. What a joke.
What a joke. Correct. And yeah, the Scalia thing, look into it sometime. It's crazy.
I note that all this jabber doesn't touch the ballot sickness side of the issue. The voter disruption is a plague upon the peen of the U.S. Splain and splimple.
What? Splain and splimple. Right. The voter confusion, keeping the... I'm going to say something rude. Louisiana is one of the last states where you want to have any complications as far as voting or whatever, like anything at all. You don't want anything to get more complicated. There are a couple states with extremely high poverty rates and large areas and large populations where the education system maybe hasn't touched them as often as like a priest would. And so you might have some issues there. So the voting process should be accessible to everybody. It should be accessible to people with severe mental handicaps. It should be that simple. That's all that's needed, because it's just a vote. We've made it complicated. We've made it really fucking complicated to vote in this country, but it shouldn't be. But that said, the system that we have is about as complicated as it needs to ever get. It should get simpler from here. Who likes you are? Are you talking to me, Ken? Am I R? Like, you can't even just, like, can you type out my name? Pretend I'm from Louisiana and I don't know. Who likes me? Not really many people, I don't think. Miss Sparkles says, I'll take the president's job since I am a D owner. Wait, you have a penis somewhere? Where do you keep it?
As a woman, I will say that this is why women belong in the kitchen.
Thank you.
As a woman, I will say that we only belong in the kitchen or the bedroom.
Kitchen or the bedroom. That's an upgrade. That's 2 more places. Or, that's 100% more places than it started with. It started at kitchen and then got upgraded to kitchen and bedroom. That's doubling the areas you guys could be. Let's see. All right, what else? What do we have today? So I wanted to go through that judicial opinion, non-opinion of Ketanji, because it's important to remember what we're up against. At the highest level, like, you think that incompetence ends somewhere along the chain. I don't know if you think that. Maybe it was incompetent of me to say that. People think incompetence ends somewhere along the chain. It doesn't. It goes all the way up to every position, to any job, to any level of achievement. And we have so thoroughly elevated people beyond their status and their station, and so consistently, that it's the norm. We expect people to just have drifted into where they are. It's the Peter principle, I believe, is what it's called. Right? The Peter principle is everyone will be promoted just beyond their level of competence. So on a long enough timeline, everyone will theoretically get promoted into a job that they're not capable of doing. I think that's the Peter principle. Which is kind of funny, because that's not the efficient way to run a workplace, right? The workplace would be to find the maximum level that people are effective and keep them there. But because we promote people when they perform well at one job, they, are better than everybody else at that job. We then promote them to another job, which has different responsibilities and requires a different skill set. And we're like, why are they bad at this? That's Ketanji Brown Jackson. She was a janitor. I'm just kidding. I don't know. What is her bio? She's like from Harvard too, which is not impressive. Especially if you're black. If she was a white man from Harvard, that would be that graduated when she did, that would be impressive. What's her shitty? God, she's ugly. Sorry, that was rude. That was rude. Look at her though. Ew. So she was born September 14th, 1970 in Washington, D.C., to parents who were both teachers and had been educated at historically black colleges and universities. I don't know why that matters. Does that matter? Chartard says the Peter Puffer principle. Is that? I don't believe you. I don't believe you. So here we go. Her father, Johnny Brown, graduated from the University of Miami School of Law and became chief attorney for the Miami-Dade County School Board. So you see right here where the problems begin. Chief attorney for the school board. Fucking kill me. Her mother, Ellery, was the school principal at the New World School of the Arts in Miami. One of her uncles, Calvin Ross, served as the police chief of the Miami Police Department. her paternal great-great-great-grandfather was Olmsted Rutherford, who was enslaved by John H. Rutherford. Oh, he gave him his last name. That was nice. On a Georgia plantation. Jackson grew up... What is she, Kobe beef now? Like we trace her lineage? Who cares? I'm actually from this slave. I don't give a shit. You weren't a slave. I really don't care if you were from a slave that you didn't know. Her paternal great-great-great-grandfather. Oh, okay. How many conversations did you have with him? How many of those were meaningful? She grew up in Miami and attended Miami Palmetto Senior High School. She distinguished herself as a champion debater, winning the national oratory title at the National Catholic Forensic League Championships in New Orleans during her senior year. I believe this zero. I believe this zero. I have never... I was going to say it. I've never met a black woman who was good at arguing, only good at yelling. I thought that was a little bit too racist for the stream. I still stand by it. She has recalled her experience with high school debate as one, quote, that I can say without hesitation was the one activity that best prepared me for future success in law and in life. In 1988, Jackson graduated from Palmetto as senior class president. In her high school yearbook, she was quoted as saying she wanted to go into law and eventually have a judicial appointment. You know, most kids growing up in Louisiana do have a plan for a judicial appointment at one day. You know, it's just at different times. Many of them are in the morning. After high school, Jackson matriculated at Harvard University to study government, having applied despite her guidance counselor's advice to set her sights lower. Her guidance counselor was the only one who was correct. Holy shit. I mean, sure, you could try Harvard, but maybe. I've met you. Can you imagine that guy being like, I was right? That's all I want. I want to know whoever that guidance counselor is to tweet out, I was right, and nothing else ever. Retire that Twitter account. Darn Scipio says, Ricada with that schnoz calling someone ugly is really funny. I know. It's hilarious. That's the only true thing you've said in forever. When did you become such a Sandy V word? What a weirdo. Dar Scipio actually just wants to be under the bench sucking off Ketanji Brown Jackson's man penis. Darth Scipio loves like the overtly insane liberals so much. Like anytime I talk about any of them, he comes in here. He's like, you don't know anything. It's like, okay. I know that Ketanji Brown Jackson's retarded. I know that. I know that she made it into and out of Harvard on the wings of, wouldn't say like eagles, I guess. Hawks or whatever. Let's see. Here we go. She took classes in drama and performed improv comedy, forming a diverse friend group. She's got the Kurt special going on. I'll learn to do. I'll go to an improv group. Why were you asked not to come back to that improv group, Kurt? Ooh. Didn't the same thing happen at that stand-up group? Brian Dunham says, I don't know what that guy is talking about, Nick. You make it wiggle. A little wiggle goes a long way sometimes. If if you nurse it just right. All right. As a member of the Black Students Association, she led protests against a student who displayed a Confederate flag from his dormitory window and protested the lack of full-time professors in the Afro-American Studies Department. While a freshman, Jackson enrolled in Michael Sandal's course Justice, which she has called a major influence during her undergraduate years. Michael Sandal, you can guess what that is about. Let's see. She graduated from Harvard in 1992 with a BA magna cum laude. Her senior thesis was titled The Hand of Oppression, Plea Bargaining Processes, and the Coercion of Criminal Defendants. Of course she did. It's, guys, if you were writing, if you're like Dan Bongino, you're like, I'm going to write a book with a villain in it. You just write her life story. That's it. Like, what a mess. From 92 to 93, Jackson worked as a staff reporter and researcher for Time magazine. Didn't last long there, huh? She then attended Harvard Law, where she was supervising editor of the Harvard Law Review, graduating in 1996 with a Juris Doctor cum laude. Wasn't Obama also the supervising editor of the Harvard Law Review? Bungalow Logic says improv and comedy companies are so eager to diversify, they practically pay minorities to participate. Well, my experience, and I've never been in an improv comedy group, so forgive me. My experience watching people do improv comedy is that improv comedy groups or troupes or whatever you want to call them, productions, including the major ones, right? Like that place in Chicago that Mike Myers is from, wherever that was called, was it the Laugh Factory? I don't remember. All of these places, Comedy Sports in Minnesota, all of the improv places, you'll notice if you go there, it's not so improv. They have a set of sketches. It's actually just extemp sketch comedy, not improv comedy. Improv comedy is improvised. Sketch comedy has a structure, a joke, a gimmick, a gag that they operate within. This is what most improv comedy has become. It's like, oh, we're going to do the bit about being on the playground thing. Yeah, that'll be good. Second City, thank you. Thank you. I went there. When I was, and watched a show when I was 18, because my friends and I decided to go to Chicago when we were 18 for a spring break. We're like, oh, this will be fun. It wasn't. Chicago wasn't fun. Well, that was the year 2000. 2000? Yeah, that would have been the year 2000. And you had to be 21 or older to have fun in Chicago at the time. Well, I mean, I'm sure there was other ways. To have legal fun, you had to be 21 or older. And so we were just bored like the whole time. It was like, well, everything shuts down at like 9 o'clock if you're under 21. It was really boring. Anyway, I'm ranting too much about improv comedy. I mean, this is... Oh, okay, so she protested stuff. She's super pro black issues, and she did improv comedy. Great, cool. Thanks. My con law professor described what the managing editor or the supervising editor of the Harvard Law Review was. That was the person who didn't have a family to go home to for Christmas. That's what he said. I don't know. I didn't go to Harvard. Dear God. Okay, let's take a look at some of this Comey stuff. You know what? Before we do, I'm going to step away for just a second. I'm going to go to the bathroom. Come right back. I didn't realize you've been going for 2 hours. Oh my God. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Redneck Hipster says, wait, what happened to Chair Coon? Did this motherfucking no shoulder having ass motherfucker do something to Chair Coon? Chair Coon, you mean that, like, I got a new chair 4 years ago? Something like that. Chair Coon's right. It's on the other side of my desk, though. I haven't gotten rid of it yet. I was going to shoot it, but I don't have any guns anymore. I'm not allowed to have them. All right, but we are back. Okay. I have to find the story I was looking at. Oh, boy. Excuse me. Hold on. Let's see. Where was it? All right. So I came across this this chick, Christy Greenberg. Let's see, what was that? Look at all Nick's sports trophies. Hey, I actually listen. I had several martial arts trophies and a couple soccer trophies. I think I threw them away. I don't know. Like, what do you do? Oh, wait. Oh, no, that's YouTube related. But I didn't have any, like, good ones. I just had some. Why'd you name yourself after the worst part of a fruit salad? I'm so confused. Okay, so Christy Greenberg. So this is, again, we're going to be talking about Comey. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I have brought to the world. This is Christy Greenberg, and she is host of Courtside with Christy Greenberg on YouTube. I'm so sorry. MS Now legal analyst. She's kind of pretty. I'll give her that. That's good hair going on. This picture, I can't speak for the rest of life. In this picture, that hair is good. She's kind of pretty. So, but she's the MS Now legal analyst, former Southern District of New York Criminal Division Deputy Chief, NYK, NYY, NYR, plus Detroit Lions wife and mom. So she has a YouTube channel. Courtside with Christy Greenberg. The veneer is a little bit, I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to do what she looks better in this one. Sometimes the lighting, not so great. Okay, here we go. Here's what I wanted to pull up. Check this out in just a second. What I want to do first is go back to here and let's see. Holy fuck. Sorry, I was appreciating how these start out. As a former SDNY Criminal Division Deputy Chief, I break down Patel's case and the bombshells he didn't deny. Trump scolding him, Trump's unhappiness with him, and White House talk of replacing him. Patel tried to look strong, but exposed his biggest weakness. And then she's got some tweets here about this. If Todd Blanche had the goods on James Comey, it would have been in the indictment. When you come for Trump's enemy, don't tell me who to come for, babe. When you come for Trump's enemy with nothing but seashells, you're not a prosecutor. You're a puppet and a punchline. Hope Comey never used a fire emoji, or Blanche is charging him with arson next. All right. You guys thought it was hard to get a high-level job. You're just not trying. You're just not trying, because if this fucking dope can do it, so can you. Here we go. Comey case destroyed what you need to know. We're going to watch this.
DOJ won't just lose its new case against James Comey, it will get destroyed.
All right, so we can look forward to the destruction of the DOJ. The DOJ will be destroyed. The DOJ will be destroyed. She knows.
I prosecuted threat cases. DOJ can't.
I've made roast beef. I have made it. I've made roast beef. Let me tell you why Peter Luger's steakhouse is going fucking down. Okay, sure. Tell me about it, broad. What you prosecuted threat cases. Which one of them involve the former director of the FBI making a tweet about potentially removing the president of the United States, the sitting president of the United States, following his firing and ouster? The former same party member director of the FBI, right? Wasn't Comey a Republican? Or am I wrong on that? I could be wrong on that. If I'm wrong on that, my indignancy is going to sound fake. Hold on. James Comey. Is he a Republican or Democrat? He's 6'8"? Holy shit. Let's see. Oh, he was in office during Obama. But he was Attorney General under George Bush. The fuck? What do we got? So, yeah, Obama appointed him. But he was U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. By the way, that's where she's from, right? Southern District of New York. Here we go. Yeah. Comey was a Republican. I don't know if he still is. So again, okay, I was right. A same party member. So, by the way, the reason I bring that up is because Comey undoubtedly knows people who are by Trump right now, who are near him in proximity, which makes a threat, as it were or weren't, which makes the threat a little bit different. If I write 8647, people are going to say, like, what, is that your phone number or whatever? James Comey writes 8647 and people go, he's threatening the president of the United States. That right there, that thing that I just did is a huge fucking problem for Comey. And why this chick is overstating everything. And I'll tell you why she's overstating everything. Look at her. Just look at that face, look at that hair, and look at, she's overstating everything because she, I'm guessing, is a little bit vapid, a little devoid of fact or legal application. But here's the problem. Because of who Comey is and the circumstances around it, could someone believe 8647 is a threat on the president of the United States? Yeah. Prior to Comey posting it, if I wrote 8647 in the sand, would anybody think that if I sent it? No. No. We're going to go, I don't know if we'll do it tonight, sometime really soon. we're going to go through the case that the Supreme Court uses for true threats against the President of the United States. I've been misstating an application of the law because I hadn't fully researched it. I'm sorry. I was talking about true threats generally. I wasn't getting into how the Supreme Court has upheld true threats in regards to the President of the United States. There's a little bit of a different legal standard going on that really, really matters. And the fact that when Comey puts this message up and when I put this message up, two different conclusions are drawn. And one of those is that Comey is calling for harm to the president. That's bad for Comey. We'll talk about that soon.
Prove that Comey thought 8647 in seashells on a beach was a death threat?
Here's the problem. They don't have to prove that. And this dummy should know that. Hey, lady, that's not the legal standard. They don't have to prove that Comey knew it would be a death threat. They have to prove that Comey recklessly disregarded that someone else might perceive it as a threat, that a reasonable person familiar with the circumstances might perceive that to be a threat, and that someone else is not the recipient of the threat. It's an outside observer. That's the problem when you're threatening, allegedly, the President of the United States, because it isn't just about whether or not the president will feel a threat. That's what I've been talking about. I've been talking about a true threat that would be perceived by a reasonable recipient as being a threat that would be intended to be delivered as a threat to put the person in fear or apprehension. That's a threat analysis. A threat on the president is something of a different kind, though, because the threat of the president isn't just about how the president feels. It's about, is it a dog whistle? Is it to put other people in fear or apprehension of harm to the president? What is it? It's a lot more complicated than, is Comey like grade school threatening the president with a note? That's not what we're talking about here. Threats against the president are representative. The president is representative. Coming from James Comey, who could have someone in place, theoretically, to actually, carry it out. That changes the calculus.
When you need to explain what the threat means, you've already lost. And when you need to prove
that's not true, you have not already lost. By the way, you have to explain what the threat means in every fucking case that's ever been a threat. All of them, you have to explain the threat. That's an element. The threat has to occur. Why would you say something so stupid? If you have to explain what the threat is, okay, Miss Piggy Voice, you do have to explain it. It's an element of the crime. You have to explain why it's a threat. What are you talking about?
that an old white guy understood slang?
An old white guy. First of all, Comey isn't that old, you whore. That's mean. She's not a well, she might. I don't think so. I don't think she's actually a whore. That wasn't meant to be a statement of fact. Comey's 66, I guess. That's not that old. But Comey was the director of the FBI, and 86 isn't like kids slang. My kids aren't running around saying 86. All the kids you've ever met are all saying 6'7". But 86 isn't like new slang. Someone didn't just come up with it. 86, getting rid of something via 86 has been around since I was in junior high at least. This is the type of slang Comey would be intimately knowledgeable of. It would involve, because I'm pretty sure 86 came out of gang culture originally. Because there's probably a criminal 86 code for 86 somewhere. Hold on. Where does slang term 86 come from? hospitality industry, especially for a food or drinks establishment, meaning that an item is no longer available, a person or people not welcome on the premise. Its etymology is unknown, but it seems to have been coined in the 1920s or 1930s. That brand new slang that old white guy James Comey wouldn't understand. Holy fuck. It's 100 years old. It's as old as you look without all that makeup on. Oh, look at her crazy eyes. This looks like Karen Reed texting John and Brian Higgins at the same time.
You're doomed. Let's hope Comey never used a fire emoji, or this DOJ will charge him with arson next.
That's a bad joke. That joke was written by someone, not her. I'm not convinced that she would even write a bad joke. But that was not a funny joke. It wasn't funny. There has to be a fire for an arson. There has to be a threat for a threat. There's a fact question over whether 8647 in the context it's delivered is a threat. So that fact question has to be resolved by a fact finder. This isn't a summary judgment or dismissal issue. This is at best end of the prosecution's case issue where the defense then stands up and makes a motion for a directed verdict because they failed to adequately state the required elements of any criminal act. But they're going to get past that too. This idea that this is going to get blown out of the water with what? What? You're going to challenge the probable cause findings of a grand jury without some particularized showing of wrongdoing. You're fucked. You're not going to show, like, even if you disagree with the grand jury or whatever, you're fucked without a particular showing of wrongdoing that you have to support, probably by clear and convincing evidence. It's hard to overturn a grand jury's probable cause decision. The decision to indict by a grand jury is upheld almost all the time. Outside of that, that's your pretrial probable cause challenge. You don't get other challenges. They're like all of these people talking about this stuff, and they're like, oh, well, you can't do this, you can't do that. Where do you raise the challenge? Where do you raise it? People think you just get to go into court and just say stuff. Like, oh, well, Comey should just say this. It's a vindictive or malicious prosecution. Where? Where is he supposed to say that? I mean, also, let's not forget the need for a particularized showing of exactly how, but where in the process does that take place for Comey? Show your work. You don't just get dispositive pretrial hearings. You have a date by which those dispositive hearings occur. And then you move on because the court isn't going to sit there and entertain these things over and over and over. There's no time to bring them all at once. We'll see. But the fact that you have to explain what 86 means, that's not a problem. In every case, you would have to explain the slang or idiomatic language to the court. It'd have to be on record. Here's why this is. Here's why. Because importantly, here's why Comey is using it in that way.
DOJ doesn't even define 86 in its indictment.
The indictment isn't where any of this needs to take place. What are you talking about? It's an indictment. It's an indictment from the grand jury. All it's supposed to do is put the defendant on notice for the criminal acts that they are being accused of and a basic set of facts explaining the basis for the criminal charge. In this case, that on this particular date, James Comey did send a tweet, 8647, that was meant to show or to threaten the president of the United States in violation of 18 U.S.C. 861 or whatever it is. That's it. That's all the indictment has to say. That's all the indictment should say. The indictment shouldn't say, because 86 is a slang term that James Comey learned while he was sucking off men in Vietnam. Like, it doesn't You don't need to go into that. I don't know why he was doing that, by the way. I'm not sure why Comey was engaged in fellatio with men in Vietnam. I don't know when this took place. It's just out there in the ether. You don't have to explain any of this now. It's just an indictment. You did this. Not you did this and here's why it's a crime. You did this. You did this act. It's a criminal act. You explain at trial. The dumb thing is, with all these people, they should know this. Speaking of knowing this, Help Solve has rated the stream. Thank you to Help Solve. Welcome to you and your rating community. Please feel free to sit down, have some of the snacks that are provided. Drex's Unused Baldo, being one of those, says, I've worked in several restaurants and the 8647 thing never made sense to me because I read it as we're out of Trump or we're banning him from the White House. I had to learn on X, people took it as, that was message 1 of 2, I'm waiting for 2, but as murder. It doesn't necessarily mean murder. The police code for murder was 187 in like California or whatever. So like that was like a rap thing amongst a certain demographic for a while, but I've heard of 86 as getting rid of stuff forever. But that being said, like, it doesn't necessarily mean to kill, but so there aren't many ways to remove a president, right? And the question of what James Comey meant by it is a fact question for a jury. A jury may think that he meant that we're out of Trump. We're all out of Trump. I'm all out of Trump. I'm so lost without him. I know I was right. Believe me, for a long time. It's very good. Very good. Like, maybe that's what he meant. He'll have an opportunity to defend himself in court over that. But the fact that we're all out here arguing he has free speech and stuff like that, it's like, well, I believe in free speech. Like, yeah. But they will prosecute a threat to the president of the United States. Free speech doesn't cover a true threat. What is a true threat is a fact question. Comey has enough circumstances that his speech might be more than speech. You or I don't really need to worry about this because we don't have those circumstances.
Trump said 86 is a mob term for kill him. It's not. I've prosecuted mob cases.
I made roast beef. I've made roast beef. It's not. I've prosecuted mob cases. Oh, okay. All of them? Like with all the different mobs that are like out there? See, is 86 a mob term? And what does it mean? '86 is a long-standing American slang. And while it can show up in criminal or mob context, it's not specifically a mafia term. Most common use is refuse service or kick someone out, removing something or canceling it, get rid of it, discard or eliminate it. Because 86 can mean get rid of, it has sometimes been used more darkly to imply disappear someone, kill someone. But that usage is more pop culture / noir exaggeration than formal organized crime jargon. That's right. The formal organized crime lexicon has not fully approved 86 for use by all people. Right? You have to have several Z's in your name and 2 C's at least to be able to use 86 as a term for removal of someone's life. Other than that, it just means to kick them out.
86 isn't a thing. Even Merriam-Webster Dictionary says 86 doesn't mean to kill.
Well, if Merriam-Webster Dictionary says 86 doesn't mean to kill, then it must not have ever been used in that context, even though it's a common, understood slang usage, depending on circumstances. This is the thing. Well, in this set of circumstances, it meant something different. All right. That's literally the law. Under a person familiar with the circumstances, how would they interpret it? Drex is unused Baldo as part 2 of 2. He's saying he had to learn that people on X took 86 as assassinate. I've never known 86 to mean anything, and never had heard it prior to the restaurant industry. In arguendo, wouldn't people like me be a defense to the whole bunch of bullshittery? No. Here's why. Do you remember? I'm going to make myself bigger, and it won't happen by looking at this lady. Too much stress out of 10. All right. Let's do this. Do you remember when we were talking about the ICE shooting situation? And it's a reasonable officer's interpretation that matters, right? On whether or not they're threatened. Would a reasonable officer, similarly situated, would they be able to reasonably conclude that their life was in danger? Now, remember, in all that discussion, we got to one really critical thing that gets overlooked. The fact that there is one reasonable interpretation does not preclude another reasonable interpretation. So, one officer can reasonably interpret that his life is in danger under those circumstances. And in that case, the officer is justified in shooting. Even if another officer were to reasonably conclude that his life wasn't in danger and shooting was not justified, both of those reasonable conclusions can exist. They can coexist. They're not exclusive. Either reasonable conclusion is fine, but the existence of the reasonable conclusion that life was in jeopardy justifies the shooting, all right? Assuming all other factors are met. In the same way, a reasonable person can conclude that 8647 is a threat. If that happens, element satisfied. Now, the jury still has to determine whether or not it was a threat. That still has to occur. But to the existence of an alternative reasonable outcome does not preclude the reasonable outcome that it is a threat. As long as that exists, they can sustain the criminal action. Now, you can rail against that in court. You can say, look at all the other reasonable things to conclude. But if you have a reasonable conclusion that that would be received as a threat, you've fulfilled that element. Now, again, they'll have to prove out whether or not it is a threat. That's a fact question. So we'll have to see. But no, to answer your question very specifically, the fact that there are other reasonable interpretations does not mean that those are correct and the other one isn't. K to the Swiss says 86 equals 8 miles out, 6 feet down. Real Patriot Party says, Nick, 86-it slang traces back to military shorthand, bars banning drunk patrons and restaurants indicating sold out menu items. Let's move on. 86-it already. You move on. Gotta explain stuff. It's Courtney Fellowship Oddballs says, because I'm a jerk, lol. Hi, who's it? 6 months of membership from Courtney. And, flexing on who's it? 5 months. Flagrant member waving. Oh, that's brutal. Man comes out here waving his 5 around. Like, look at this. What's up? And then someone 6 on the table. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to take that shit? You just let her trounce all over you like that? There's only one way to, well, there's 2 ways to do it. 1, you can kill the other person. 2, you can gift a bunch of memberships. And we'll say that your member is bigger. We'll just do that. Okay, so back to this. I feel like I could balance this out better if... No, we'll just stick with that.
Means to get rid of. DOJ also can't prove Comey intended to endanger Trump's life.
Why not? Why can't... Case Starler, but we can all pretend, there's another way. Why does she believe that the DOJ can't prove that? Why on earth?
We're supposed to believe that at 65 years old on a family beach vacation, Comey just decided to torch decades of public service as a U.S.
Comey's credibility level is through the fucking roof, lady. Yeah, you're right. 100%. Yeah, he's got such an affable, beloved, respectable name. Let's see, what's James Comey popularity? YouGov. Let's see. Right now. Oh, God. Yeah, he's doing great. James Comey Fame and Popularity Tracker by YouGov. He's, this is his fame rating in black up top. So his fame is slowly declining. Let's see, 1st of July. When did he make that? When did he make that tweet? Was it? His fame dipped a bit and then started to rise back up like a phoenix. And it's staying around that 65% range right now. But here's his dislikes are going, they're up from where they were around the time that he made a tweet about the president. They're up, still up. And then of course his overall popularity is at 23.1%. So we're talking about a serious contender here for like man of the year, James Comey, very popular amongst everybody. And she's like, he's going to throw away decades of that? Yeah, maybe for book sales.
Attorney and FBI director to threaten the president's life with seashells.
Yeah, why would someone do that?
Instagram post caption.
This dumb bitch. People do stupid stuff all the time. All the time. This woman, if she is who she claims she is, has prosecuted people who did stuff as dumb. E. Poindexter, 9 months of membership. Perfect. Says he wasn't coy about his dislike, nay hatred for Donald Trump. Nope, not at all. But she knows people do dumb stuff. People have accused me of this. I've never done anything dumb in my life, but people have accused me of this. You had it all. Why would you choose to do whatever? I don't know. There's a bunch of reasons. There are answers to this. There's a bunch of reasons that people do stuff to pretend like, oh, it couldn't possibly be anything, right? To this, not at all. Yeah, of course there could. Comey might have been worried about fledgling book sales. Maybe he has a contractual obligation to sell certain amounts of them. He was worried about it. He wanted to drum up controversy, so he threatens the president. I don't know. Maybe he wasn't thinking through it. The problem is, as I learned, the standard isn't intentional. It's reckless disregard for the outcome. That's bad for Comey. E. Poindexter, not bad for Comey or me. Gifting 10 memberships. See, that adds temporarily. E. Poindexter was a 9-month member, but now gifting 10 memberships adds 10 temporary years. Months? 10 months. 19 months. Now, in my head. Anyway, that's how... Look. You know, the measuring devices will say what they say, but it's a 19 up here for me. Thank you, E. Poindexter.
Cool shell formation on my beach walk. Yeah, super.
Why did he tweet it if you know so much? Why did he do it? This is the other thing. All these people who are insisting that James Comey must not have meant the threat. What did he mean? What did he mean? How do you know? What was Comey doing? What is the alternative? I know you ran life on easy mode as a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, where you get to just make shit up all day long. Hey, that's where James Comey came from. That's weird. I know you did that. But how about you show your fucking work? What are you going to produce that show that Comey meant that thing is anything other than a threat on the president? What is it? What was he doing? When he first makes the first post, what was he doing? Was he just making a political speech statement? What was it? Prove it.
Super menacing. Even Trump knows it's lame. When Caitlin Collins asked if he thought his life was endangered,
This is maybe amazing. Trump's reception of it does not matter under the law. And you should know this. I prosecuted these before. Did you? Like this against the president? Did you do that? I don't think so.
Trump's first words were probably, I don't know.
Probably, I don't know. I don't know. How would he? How would Trump know this? Trump isn't doing this, by the way. Trump is not doing this. This is brought before a grand jury. The evidence is presented by an assistant U.S. attorney, and that assistant U.S. attorney has produced an indictment from that grand jury that says, yeah, actually, based on what you told us, that's a crime. Everyone is overlooking this. Based on what they presented to the grand jury, this is a crime. But they're going to get just blown out completely.
You can't convince Trump beyond a reasonable doubt. You're not convincing a jury.
Trump isn't a jury. And Trump, you're asking the wrong question. So is Caitlin Collins, because you guys don't research anything at all. The question is not whether Donald Trump would perceive it as a threat or whether anyone receiving that would perceive it as a threat. The question is whether any reasonable person observing it would see it as a threat. A reasonable person familiar with the circumstances. You got a problem.
And let's be real. If Comey posed a serious threat, DOJ wouldn't have waited a year to charge him.
Why not? Maybe they had to gather evidence. They wouldn't have waited a year to charge him. Why? Why is this? Why are all these statements? The DOJ wouldn't have. Why not? Again, if Comey poses a serious threat, is not the legal standard. He doesn't have to pose a serious threat. He doesn't have to pose any threat. He has to convey a threat on the life of the president of the United States. And if he does that, it's a crime.
Comey thought the seashells were a political message to remove Trump from office. That's protected speech, not.
That is a self-serving defense statement that he posted after he realized he was about to get fucking charged. I posted earlier a picture of some shells I saw today on a beach walk, which I assumed were a political message. Oh, now I didn't even do it. I didn't realize some folks associate those numbers with violence. It never occurred to me, but I oppose violence of any kind, so I took the post down. That okay. You know, they say, like, don't talk. Don't talk. This is amazing because she's a prosecutor. And if she had any ability as a prosecutor, knows that is bad for Comey, not for Trump. That's bad for Comey. Some folks associate those numbers with violence. That is an admission of a reasonable person coming to the conclusion that what you conveyed is a threat. That's a big problem for Comey. That's a big problem. Thornelia says, could Gretchen Whitmer posted a picture with 8647 in the background, or is that just as egregious as what Comey did? It's hard to say. We don't know what other evidence they have about Comey. We don't know what the evidence is. You can assume that it's not just a picture of seashells. You can assume that there's probably some conversation with someone, maybe a witness is what we would call those in the biz. A witness, maybe a text conversation saying, yeah, some people could see it this way, blah, blah, blah. Oh, shit. Oh, he needs to go. He needs to go. And I sent a message. He needs out. We need to get him out. Uh-oh. Those statements are problematic. It depends what Gretchen Whitmer has otherwise done or said. Just like in this, it depends about the other circumstances. You know, those circumstances that probably took a year to gather because you need witnesses. You need people who will testify. You need to secure evidence. You need to do all these things in the investigation before you can just recklessly bring charges. These people cannot make up their mind. Why would they wait a whole year? Is one question they ask. Why would they wait a whole year? The other question is, like, why now? Why are they doing it now? Why didn't they do it sooner? Well, there's also, you maybe couldn't. They maybe couldn't sustain the cause of action sooner. They maybe needed to develop the case. That might have been it. Something may have come up in the meanwhile that turned it from a non-prosecuting decision to a prosecuting decision.
A crime? He took down the post the same day, denied knowing 86 was associated with violence, and said he opposes violence.
Look, if you go into a bank and you take all the money out the drawer and then you walk out the door and then you're like, oh, you know what? I didn't even know that I couldn't do. I thought that was just, I thought that those drawers were there for us to remove money from at our leisure. I didn't know there was a bank. So I'm sorry. Here you go. And hand it back. You know what happens? You get arrested. You get arrested. And you go to jail for stealing from a bank, even if you return the money. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was wrong. People are texting me like crazy, though. They're like, what are you doing stealing from the bank? I don't know. I just thought it would be fun. Oh, is that wrong? Here you go. Here's your money back. Handcuffs. Yeah. On the way out of the bank, you say, I oppose bank robberies. You're home free, right? Exactly. This is crazy. Like, this chick says she was a prosecutor in one of the most famously prosecutorial districts in the United States, SDNY. And yet, it's just completely airheaded on all of these issues. I mean, I wouldn't believe it if it wasn't sitting in front of me with a pursed lips. Winston Smith, 2902, says, no way this biznatch was a prosecutor. Criminal cases can take years to put together. They can. They can. They also, like, they can be, we can't prosecute this. We don't have the one thing we need. And then all of a sudden someone shows up. I have that. I didn't know I have it. It was on an old hard drive. I recovered an old phone, found all these texts I had with Comey. Anything could happen. Suddenly someone who was, maybe they were working for or married to someone close to Comey, and then they got fired or they got divorced. Something happened. Maybe they got into legal trouble and were like, hey, I can spill the beans on this. I got you, fams. Any of these things can cause a prosecution to develop where it wasn't otherwise.
Where's DOJ's evidence proving otherwise?
It will be presented at trial. It's not in the indictment. You don't put your evidence in the indictment. You make fact statements sufficient to support the claim in the indictment. That's it. That's all. It's not in the indictment. Who cares? Show me an indictment where they put all of the evidence in the indictment. Show me one. Do your work. Show your work.
It's not in the indictment. It wasn't offered at the press conference. Acting Attorney General.
There's a fucking rule. I know, prosecutors and ethics, right? This chick is allegedly a prosecutor. There's literally a rule that says that they should restrain from making extrajudicial statements that would bring public discontentment against the defendant, or the accused, I should say. The indictment shouldn't include a bunch of other stuff. It shouldn't include it. If it doesn't belong in the indictment, it belongs at trial. What are we talking about?
Well, Todd Blanche said, we're not going to talk about the evidence we have.
Good.
Why not?
Because there's a rule about it, you dummy. Prosecutors in high-profile cases don't hide their evidence. Yes, they do. What? Prosecutors in high-profile cases come out and say, we intend to prove this. We intend to prove that this crime was committed by this person on this date. That's it. They can't come out and be like, and here's all the pictures. Actually, here's this picture. Here's this picture. Here's this picture. Here's this tweet. They don't do this at press conferences. They do it when they properly introduce the evidence at trial. Because some of the evidence that they might talk about in their public indictment, in their speech that you're talking about them giving, which is just ridiculous. Some of that evidence may not make it into trial. And then that would be bad, because that would then be exposing James Comey potentially to public ire or distrust that he didn't earn because the evidence was inadmissible. There's one of my criticisms with how trial watching has developed on YouTube is people get so into these trials. They know everything. They know everything about every case and all this stuff. And not all that stuff makes it into trial. And then they're like, well, what about this? It's well, it's not it's not before the court. But this shows that they're guilty or not guilty. It's well, yeah, but it's not before the court, so it doesn't matter. Drex's Unused Baldus has had an interesting thought after the White House Correspondents' Dinner shooter the other day. Is there any rule/reason a sitting president can't or doesn't carry a gun in addition to the Secret Service outside of Trump's specific felony fuckery? I don't think so. There shouldn't be any reason that they couldn't.
Prosecutors in high-profile cases don't hide their evidence. They inform the public about it.
They don't. Not with specificity, not the way that she's talking about.
Especially when the charge is threatening to kill the president.
Notice how she says, especially when. All right, guys, how many press conferences have you seen? Because this is her claim. Especially when the charge is threatening to kill the president, prosecutors display their evidence to the public. How many press conferences have we seen? Just endless ones. Endless press conferences of people charged with threatening to kill the president. And you're right. The prosecutor just lays out all the evidence at all of them. Name 2 of those happening. Ain't that happening ever? They always do this, especially when, oh, do they? That's amazing. I haven't seen that.
Blanche is so desperate to be Attorney General that he's acting like a thirsty Real Housewife, creating drama to stay relevant. His storyline...
You just described yourself. Everything that they've done in this case is routine. Everything that they've done is the normal by-the-book process. Actually, a little more cautious because it involved a grand jury, and they may be able to have written that indictment without a grand jury. I'm not positive on that. I don't know what the rule is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because they got the grand jury. They went, they've done the full steps to do this. It's like creating drama. You're the one saying that they should do all these things that they don't ever do, that aren't in the rules, that might be against the rules to do. Misstating the law, misstating the requirements, misstating how facts are interpreted is amazing.
Going after Comey to impress Trump. Maybe he'll prove he's shameless enough to get the job.
Going after Comey to impress Trump? Does she think that's what this is? So one thing, some people project their perspective onto others when they talk about them. Is that why she would bring a prosecution? Would be to impress, a superior or some other agency or entity to hire them? Is that why she would prosecute people? Because that's unethical. But why is that your accusation against the guy who went to the grand jury? Why is that? What evidence do you have that he's doing this, quote unquote, to impress Trump? Because those allegations require particularized showing.
But make no mistake, when you come for a former FBI director with nothing but seashells, you're not a prosecutor.
No, actually, a former FBI director posting those seashells is more dangerous than a random crackhead posting those seashells. Because the former FBI director might intend for the president to think that that's a coded message. And if Comey has any communication or messaging or statements stating that he hoped that President Trump would see it as a potential coded message, or that someone else would, and that it would get people talking, he could say that it would get people talking, then he has conveyed a threat. That's what he's done. All of this is a problem for Comey. All of this. And again, I don't know if they're going to win this. It's a jury question. I think it's a hard jury question. They very well could lose on this. But stating that this is not a question for the jury, or is going to be pretrial, or they're going to get destroyed at this point is silly. She doesn't know. She's complaining about not knowing what they have and then saying they're going to lose. But you don't know what they have.
You're a puppet and a punchline. Trump's blatant political vendetta.
Nice edit. It's a 4-minute video. You really had to grind this one down.
Won't just backfire in DOJ's case against Jim Comey. It'll also backfire in its case against Maureen Comey. It will strengthen Maureen's case.
Say Comey again. Say Comey over and over.
That she was fired for political reasons. The North Carolina prosecutors.
Wait a minute. How would that strengthen the case against her being fired for political reasons? Because they brought and secured a grand jury indictment against her husband for making a threat to the president? When was Maureen Comey fired? When was Maureen Comey fired? So let's see, or the daughter of James Comey, yeah. Former federal prosecutor in SD, New York, and daughter of former FBI Director James Comey was terminated by the U.S. Department of Justice on July 16th, 2025. When did Comey tweet 8647? May 15th, 2025. All right, so hear me out. Hear me out, dummy. I'll bring her back. Is it possible that Maureen Comey was fired in part because her father, a close associate, may have threatened the life of the president? I don't know.
They're the real losers here. They're the ones who are going to be embarrassed in court trying to defend this.
They're not defending the case. I don't know if you know how this works. They'll be prosecuting the case. They'll be trying to put him in prison. How big are her like movements and her emotives? They're crazy.
Heard of a case. Blanche got what he wanted. The case got charged and he showed Trump that he can deliver vengeance against Trump's enemies.
But no. God, this is, when I say this, women, I don't mean you. This is stereotypical woman logic, right? You're saying that the DOJ is going to be embarrassed and destroyed, and Comey is going to look super great from this. But you're also saying that Blanche has gotten what he wanted, which was to show off how awesome and fucking cool he was at destroying Trump's enemies. But he's not going to destroy Trump's enemy, is he? Do you think that Blanche is dumb? Do you think that this guy thinks he's going to lose and that will be impressive to the president? Oh, good. Thank you for going after James Comey and winning, and losing, making me look bad, making him look better. I really appreciate that. I love welcoming losers into my administration. What do you think? How can you hold these two thoughts at the same time? I didn't think that she could hold two thoughts at the same time, but these two are particularly conflicting. Either the DOJ is going to bury Comey and Trump will look good, or the DOJ is going to lose and get blown up, as she's claiming, and Comey will look good. Why would Trump reward Blanche for Trump and Blanche looking bad? Why would he reward him for that? That doesn't make sense. And that's why I say it's stereotypical woman logic. Believe me, I know you ladies don't think like this. But some women out there who you may have met are so focused on the preceding actions to anything that you know that they don't think the actions actually matter. To this dummy, what happens next is behind a curtain that she may never see. And she can't think through the logical progression. So for her, Blanche bringing the charges is all that needs to happen to curry favor with Donald Trump. Like, to her, that's where the calculus ends. It doesn't even occur to her at all that if Blanche loses, he and Trump look bad and Comey looks better. And that Trump wouldn't want to encourage that or reward it. It doesn't occur to her at all. She's like, well, he tried to do this. Therefore, in her mind, he did it. And you've met people who think like this. Oh, well, they're trying to do it. Therefore, it's done. And so you, like, these people, you can tell them you're doing anything. And they're like, oh, yeah, that means you did the thing. Thanks. Awesome. Lots of people operate like this. They say they're going to do something and that's enough to have it done to them. Or they're told something will happen. Therefore, it has happened. And that's all they need. They don't need the actual outcome to occur. That's where she's stuck right now, because that's the only way you can hold these two positions at the same time.
Now Blanche is going to hang those prosecutors out to dry and distance himself from this train wreck that is certainly to come. But let's be clear about who really loses here. We do.
Why?
The American public.
Maybe you do. Loser. Loser. Warlock says, my sister thinks like this and it's absolutely infuriating. Now I want to offer just a mild apology to the chat, because again, trying to very clearly state that it's a stereotypical view of how women approach certain problems. And I don't agree with it. I want to be clear on that. I don't actually agree that's accurate. I know women who think that way. I know men who think that way. Hell, there's a lot of times where I think and act that way, like on certain things. People have called me out for it. I've called myself out for it plenty of times. I'll come up with an idea or whatever. I'm like, I want to do this. And it's like, okay, well now it's done in my head. Like, and it might just fly away. And people ask me months later, hey, what about this thing that you talked about? I was like, oh shit. Yeah, I guess I had talked about that. I haven't thought about it since then, honestly.
Blanche says it's a crime to post a photo of seashells, but it's not a crime to party with Jeffrey Epstein.
Correct! It is a crime, potentially, depending on the circumstances, to post pictures of seashells. It is not automatically a crime to party with, well, I mean, especially now, party with Jeffrey Epstein. It is a crime to fuck children with Jeffrey Epstein. It is not a crime to hang out at a bar with Jeffrey Epstein and drink. That's not a criminal act. Both of those are partying. I guess. I don't know. Is that partying? Like, that's weird to say. That's what she's referring to, though. But no, it's not a crime to party with someone. It's a crime to do crime with people. It's not a crime to party with them. They're not always the same. Some good parties have some crime in them. I don't know what we're talking about. Some of them do. Having sex with children is never one of those. It's not a good, that's a very bad party. You should get away from that. That's the teachers union. No, you should, obviously, that is bad. That's a criminal act. That's not a party. But there's a bunch of people who partied with Jeffrey Epstein that didn't have sex with children. Like that happened. What are we doing here? But it might be a crime to post a picture of seashells. If those seashells, in the circumstances, convey a threat. Absolutely.
While DOJ is busy chasing seashells and sandwich throwers, real criminals walk free, pardoned for the right price. The Epstein...
Pardoned for the right price. Okay. Who is pardoned for a price? Is she talking about the January 6 people? Every president uses the power of the pardon, and every president is able to use the power of the pardon, and it's unquestionable. It's plenary. So just suggesting that anyone being pardoned is a problem, you're going to need to bring why. You need to bring out why that's a problem. The Epstein class is protected. Was the Epstein class, was there a class of, what class is that? Was that like 76?
Class is protected. Victims are ignored.
Hey, what about Seth Rich? Hey, lady, what do you know about Seth Rich? Can we ask about him? Or is that part of the protected class? I don't remember. I can't keep track. The Epstein class. Wait, didn't you protect the Clinton Foundation? Who partied with Epstein? A couple, Bill and Hillary. We both did, a little bit. We had different massage rooms, if you know what I mean. What are you talking about? What about Seth Rich, though?
Whistleblowers are smeared. Cooperators are burned. Prosecutors and agents who play by...
Edits. Those hard edits. Edit.
By the rules are sidelined, while the bad ones who sell their souls are promoted.
Wait! First of all, every prosecutor's soul was sold long before they got to the prosecutor's office. Second of all, what is she talking about? The prosecutor's doing the right thing or sideline? No. People are on board with the policy of the administration or they aren't. That's it. That's it. I think Shipwreck Crew posted about this the other day. He's like, when Trump entered office, 90% of the DOJ was, was employed by Barack Obama. 90%. So mass exodus from the DOJ gets reported on. Well, yeah, they have different ideas about what lawyers for the government should do. They have different policy concepts. They're not required to stay working there. And Trump isn't required to pander to a bunch of liberal lawyers who work for the DOJ. He can just hire conservative ones. Or he could hire racist ones. He can do whatever the fuck he wants.
It is dangerous when our justice system values loyalty to the powerful over fairness to all. It collapses.
It hasn't yet. It has done this for 250 years, bitch. It has done this the whole time. And it hasn't collapsed. What are you talking about? It sounds right, so it must be true. What justice system has ever collapsed for valuing loyalty to the powerful? Every justice system in all of history has valued loyalty to the powerful over fairness to all. Every single one. The fact that ours might be the best one that's ever existed doesn't mean it doesn't fall into this. Everyone is like, oh, if it does this, it collapses. Where? Where do these collapse? You can't just say stuff and have it be true. Show me the justice system that collapsed under this. None of them. They all do it. These people are legitimately stupid. They walk around with us. They hold high-ranking positions, high-paying jobs. They got high-performance degrees and accolades and awards, and they're fucking bricks. They're walking around. They're dumber than the fucking potatoes in the vegetable department. Lost, obviously. They're dumber than... They don't know anything. They just say shit. They just say it. Oh, when our justice system values this, it collapses. It hasn't. It hasn't ever collapsed. It's always been there.
And we all lose. Thanks for watching Courtside with Christy Greenberg. If you enjoyed
I don't know what to say. Everything in the video, everything she just said was wrong. Everything. All of it. The entire video is incorrect. All of her assertions, all wrong. And there she is. Protected by free speech, so we can't just beat her to death. Are you fucking kidding me? Let's see. Let's see what else she's got going. This is going to be her breakout moment, by the way. This video is going to take off. She gets a lot of good results on her videos. See what else does she have going? Epstein files, AG bombshell evidence no one's talking about. New Epstein files, Epstein files, Epstein files. ICE shooting. New video exposes lies in Alex Preddy killing. ICE shooting. New explosive evidence. DOJ blocks investigation. And then video breakdown. Should we do it? Should we do this? Let's do it.
A Minnesota FBI agent did his job. He reviewed the evidence of ICE officer Jonathan Ross's shooting of Renee Good and said, this should be investigated. DOJ leader.
Okay. It was investigated. Every picture of this chick, she's looked different. Every single one of them. Ladies, I love you all. I love makeup. I love that you want to make yourself look a certain way and look good. This is one of the pitfalls of makeup, though, is if you have an inconsistent makeup game, like this chick, your face just looks like a fucking desert, like desert dunes, like they just blow around. She doesn't look the same video to video. This is just a month ago. Drex's unused Baldo says, if a child toucher goes to confessional, does the priest get mad out of jealousy or condemnation? Or do they go same or welcome to the clergy? Or does their tone change when they say keep going? No. Bad. Bad.
Leaders didn't do their jobs. They shut the FBI down. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche basically said, we all saw what happened. It was self-defense, case closed.
And in fact, because this is Renee Good. The Renee Good, you guys still waiting for that Renee Good prosecution to come down, right? Where Minnesota is going to go after that ICE agent, right? What happened? Where'd that go? Remember that? Fucking remember that? What is that? She's got some uneven blink going on right now. Oh, I'm sorry. That's unfavorable, lady. Whew. Remember how these ICE agents were going to get prosecuted? We talked about like, well, they'll have to get, they'll remove it to federal court. They'll get all these protections. Where'd the prosecutions go? Where'd they go? An FBI agent did his job. He said that it should be investigated. It was.
But here's the problem. New evidence keeps coming to light. New video.
Think about what she's saying. He said it should be investigated. Here's the problem. New evidence keeps coming to light. What do you think an investigation is, you dumb woman? What do you think the investigative part of investigating is? It should be investigated. New evidence keeps coming to light. Yes, that's how an investigation works. Real Patriot Party, have you noticed that the last year, all of the complete nut jobs on the left seem to be trying very hard to emulate Candace Owens' level of crazy? Don't talk about Candace that way. She's listening. She's always listening.
An autopsy report, 911 calls, eyewitness accounts. And Trump officials are telling conflicting stories about what...
Look at all this evidence. It's coming out of nowhere. This investigation should have gone on.
Happened. When the government can't keep its story straight, that's not a reason to stop investigating.
What if the story changes because new evidence has come to light? Like the evidence where she actually hit him with her car because it wasn't clear at first. That one.
That's the reason to start. I served as deputy chief of the Southern District of New York's Criminal Division.
What did you serve? Sandwiches? What did you serve?
I've spent over 20 years as both a prosecutor and defense attorney. Real prosecutors
as opposed to fake ones? Fake prosecutors? Where are those? Where are those?
Don't jump to conclusions. They follow.
Real prosecutors don't jump to conclusions, guys. They don't do that. Oh, okay. You're right. Never heard of that before.
The facts, all of them, even when they don't fit a convenient political narrative. Prosecutors should do their jobs. I'm going to walk you through the questions they should ask, the explosive new evidence, and the law.
Hey, sweetie, you just because you draw extra lipstick above your lip line doesn't mean your lips are actually that big. Like we can.
I'm making the case for a fair and impartial investigation. To be.
Why on earth would you want a fair or impartial investigation of anything? Like if you're the government, you want a partial investigation towards the victim. That's where the partiality should go. Not impartial, right? Like you want them to investigate someone who is a victim, or investigate the cause on behalf of the victim. That's who they ostensibly represent, the victim and the public. I don't want them to be impartial. I don't want them to cheat. I don't want them to be prejudicial against the other side. But you want partiality towards the alleged victim of a crime. Right? Am I crazy? Maybe I'm crazy.
Conducted by Minnesota state law enforcement since DOJ has refused to do it. And then it's up to you.
But the DOJ didn't refuse to do it. The DOJ did investigate it. What they did was they refused to allow the Minnesota law enforcement agencies to participate because the governor and the mayor are literal sub-Saharan IQ retards who made a bunch of politicized statements about the ICE agent that they're asking their own justice departments to prosecute. I'm sorry. That whole impartial thing, those government organizations that you want to investigate were completely partial against him. This runs against your premise. You don't want fair and impartial. You want a partial. Everybody wants a partial investigation. Nobody wants an impartial investigation. That's a lie. Everybody who says, I want it to be fair and impartial. Nobody wants that.
To give me your verdict of what should happen next. First question. What was Renee Good doing earlier that morning before the shooting?
Irrelevant!
Hours after Renee Good was killed, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said that Good had been stalking and impeding ICE's work all throughout the day.
Okay, cool. Now I know what she did. Doesn't matter. That is an irrelevant fact. Real Patriot Party says, this Amazon is out of safety tolerance for height, according to the man himself, Fudbusters, if you'll recall. Wait, Fudbusters, I don't recall anything. Christy Greenberg. How tall is she? How tall is this chick? Height. She's 5'6". Weight around 132. Ooh. 5'6", 132, huh? You could try harder. You could do better.
Noem doubled down on CNN. She said that Good encountered ICE in other locations hours before the shooting.
Oh, God. Park Magazine said 138. 138.
She said there's video to prove it. Video you haven't seen. But Good's family's lawyer told the New York Times something very different.
Okay.
He said that Good and her partner dropped her son off at school.
Yeah, so the lawyer advocate for Good said something other than what the government said. How weird. He said something different. He said that they were just helping babies and feeding duckies. What the fuck? These people honestly think we're all stupid.
My nigga, how can you say this big-eyed, small-eyed, mildly retarded chick is pretty? I would touch her with your dick.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. How would you do? How'd you do that big-eyed, small thing on that freeze frame? Is it always there? Is it always there?
School that morning, that they were driving home when they spotted federal agents and stopped. They weren't following anybody around, he said.
He said, you don't know. You're just taking this guy's word for it. Who cares? How does he even know? No, they weren't doing that. They were just dropping their kid off.
Dispute about what happened in the hours before the shooting should be investigated.
Nope. Actually, it shouldn't. It's irrelevant to what happens when the shooting occurs. It doesn't matter if they were smashing kittens with a sledgehammer. The shoot is either justified or not based on the circumstances at the time, not what they were doing hours earlier. Unimportant question.
Prior interactions between Good and these ICE officers that day would be directly relevant to whether the officers' actions were reasonable.
No, the only thing that would be relevant is if the officers knew what they were doing earlier that day and used that in their decision, which you would have to show. You'd have to have evidence of that. Real Patriot Party says, nope, I got that flipped earlier. Thought someone said she was 6'5", not 5'6". My bad, but you get the extra $1, so it's all good. I do. And that does rectify a lot of things, that extra $1. Really appreciate it.
Buying Noem's claim that Good was stalking and impeding ICE throughout the day. The math ain't mathin'.
Noem's claim is a political statement made about something that just happened. That's all it is. Noem's claim doesn't come into court, is irrelevant to what Noem's claims after the fact are irrelevant to what the cop experienced at the time and why he pulled the trigger. Noem could be wrong. Noem could be puffing or lying. Noem could just be dishonest or honest. It doesn't matter. What Noam says is irrelevant. That guy wouldn't know what Noam would say in response and then go back in time and shoot Renee Good.
The first 911 calls after the shooting came in at 9:38 a.m. So any prior encounters between Good and ICE at different locations would have needed to happen earlier that morning, not throughout the day.
Throughout the day necessarily can only exist insofar as the day exists. If the day is 10 a.m., saying that they've been bothering ICE agents all day is really a statement that between maybe 8 and 10 a.m., they'd been bothering ICE agents. Okay. Maybe 6 to 10 a.m. But if 10 is all of the day there is, typically people refer to the day as like at least the morning. That was still in the snow. It didn't get light out till 8. So all day is literally an hour and a half at that point. That's still all day. There's just more day that comes later. These people exist. These people exist. They vote.
Really? You didn't see the dissymmetry in them crazy eyes. I wonder if he parents are cousins or siblings, judging by her general lack intellect. Also, I bet she looks like shit without makeup.
She does. She does. No, so I thought I was just getting pause frames where she happened to have like one eye, sleep with one eye open, right? Like I thought, bite in your pillow. That's not the words. No, I thought I was just getting unfortunate freeze frames, but you're right. You're right. It's like a Mr. Potato Head but from like 2 decades apart, they only had one eye from each one. They're like, they're the same. They aren't. They aren't, honey. They're using less plastic now.
Also, if there was video of Good impeding ICE at other locations that day, it's a safe bet Noam would have released it already.
Why? Why would they do that? They don't need to do that.
Second question. What was Renee Good doing before an ICE officer told her to get out of the car? Kristi Noem said that Good attacked ICE officers who were trying to push a vehicle.
Important. It's me, Andrea. Says, I lost 50 pounds in the past year, not on Ozempic. Now, mind you, I'm typically a small person, but went through some trauma. Not everyone loses weight on Ozempic. Just saying. No, of course not. I famously lost 66 pounds. I didn't use Ozempic at all. Not a bit of it. But yeah, and I'm with you. I lost 66 pounds.
Out of the snow. But none of the videos of this incident show Good attacking anyone.
She doesn't need to.
Noem also said that Good blocked the officers in with her vehicle.
She did. Her vehicle was perpendicular in a street. A one-way street, if I remember right. Her vehicle was perpendicular. If it wasn't a one-way, it's a residential street. No, I think it's two-way. Perpendicular cars that are in a lane, that's blocking a road. I don't know if you know this.
Here's what the new...
When they said that people had to go around her car, that's because she was blocking them. The felon attorney says, you saying the ICE officer staying at a Holiday Inn Express isn't an important fact, Nick? If it was a Ramada, you know it would be.
New York Times video shows.
About 3 minutes before the shooting, footage shows Miss Good and her wife parked their maroon SUV in the middle of the street.
They just parked it in the middle of the street. They weren't blocking anybody. They just parked in the middle of the street. Again, these people try to hold these conflicting thoughts in their head all day. It must be exhausting.
And began honking and heckling. Administration officials say they were impeding and blocking immigration agents.
Yes. Yeah, having a car in the middle of the street impedes and blocks ICE agents in the commission of their duties. Now, imagine they have to go around the car and there's someone waiting on the other side of that car that they can't see that wants to do something to them. They're obstructed. They have to slow down. They have to go around. They have to navigate around this thing. They don't know why. They don't know what could be waiting for them.
Footage shows 11 vehicles maneuver around the SUV, including...
If you have to maneuver around the SUV, it's blocking the road, you dumb fat...
including this Chevy Tahoe, driven by Agent Ross. When he exits, he's already filming Miss Good's SUV, not with
Yes.
a body camera typical of most law enforcement, but using his cell phone in his hand.
Not a cell
It's not
phone.
clear why. The agent's footage...
It's not clear why. Or relevant. It doesn't matter. None of this fucking matters. Oh, this is infuriating. Infuriating. Drex is unused Baldo. Where'd it go? Says, that terrible joke brought to you by the Epstein Files, proud partner of the Catholic Church's ancient organization of Micropenicus Tuchicus Little Boysicus. Thank you for sharing, friend. Thank you.
Shows his interactions with Miss Good.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you.
That's fine, dude. Good. I'm glad you're okay with the actions of the law enforcement officer who's recording your car for the, by the way, they record cars like this for the purposes of identification in case license plates get switched or whatever. They want to see if there are any identifying markers, scratches, damage to the car, dents, paint issues, stickers, anything like that they could use to identify the car at a later time and make sure they have the right person, especially if they're going to execute a warrant or issue a citation based on earlier actions. Because these people change license plates from time to time.
And her wife.
That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning.
There's verbal
We don't change our plates every morning. How often do you change your plates?
jabbing.
It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine.
How do you know that's going to happen?
You want to come at us?
Former fucking veteran, disabled veteran. So she went from fucking veteran to disabled veteran. Bitch, that means you're doing it wrong. Scissor less violently, maybe.
We see the agent switching the phone from his right hand to his left as he heads toward the front seat of his Tahoe.
I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy.
During this time, on the other side...
I'm sorry. I always forget how Renee Good's wife looks here. Look at Michael J. Fox about to kick your ass at the snow hill. Like, your sled sucks, loser.
Sorry, my phone's autocorrect is retarded. I've seen people say the shoot was unjustified because the agent had his cell phone out. Brain Shapiro, a top-tier internet and radio retard, says this a lot.
Yeah, I've heard a couple other people saying that. It's like, well, he had a cell phone in his hand and whatever. It's like, yeah, he had his phone in his hand and then he needed to get his gun.
Side of the SUV, two new agents arrive in a pickup. We see Miss Good motions them to go around her.
Oh my God!
Okay.
Out of the car. Get out. Get out of the car. Get out. Get out of the car. Those unclear instructions. Drex is unused. Baldo says, she's a woman, Nick. Of course she doesn't know how driving works. How dare you expect her to know the basics of which way a car goes? I also sent that last chat with the last one. No idea why it just sent. I have no idea either.
The video didn't show any officers blocked in. The opposite.
Unreal. Unreal. It didn't show any officers blocked in. Literally showed that a guy had to drive his SUV. Officer Ross had to drive his SUV around the van.
The video shows 11 cars pass Good's car.
They don't pass. They have to navigate around.
She's waving cars through. She's telling officers, move around me. Is Good stopping her car in the street a traffic violation? Yes, probably.
Maybe.
But ICE don't have the authority to.
Oh, nice edit there. Is it a traffic violation? Probably. I don't know. They didn't cite her for it. They're not stopping her for a traffic violation. They might have referred the video evidence that they collected to the local Hennepin County Police or Minneapolis Police, and then they might have issued a traffic citation based on what happened. Probably not, but possible. But that's not why they were there. This is such a frustrating lie. Because they have to know that it's a lie. Like this woman, based on her career history, has to know that she's lying right now. But you don't know, like, I don't know if she actually does. I don't know if she actually knows that, but she has to. But she's talking about this, this thing like, was it a traffic violation? Who cares? That's not the question. The traffic violation would be irrelevant. The real question is, did an ICE agent have to slow his car down and navigate around a vehicle? If so, that's impeding an officer.
To enforce Minnesota state traffic laws. State or local police can request ICE's help in enforcing Minnesota state traffic laws, but they haven't. Is Good committing a federal crime? No.
Yes.
For interfering with law enforcement operations to be a federal crime, there must be force or the threat of force.
It's called a car! Ah! Ah! There must be force. There is a whole lot of foot-pounds of it behind that vehicle with a fat woman in it. Do you know how much more dangerous cars are when there's a fatso up front? God.
There's no force or threat of force here before an ICE officer told Good to get out of her car. Stopping your car in the street and honking isn't force. It isn't threat of force. Smiling and calmly.
Stopping your car and honking might legitimately be a threat of force. What are you talking about? How on earth can you say this? I know plenty of people who honk as a threat that they're going to drive. I'm honking. You need to move. That's a threat of force.
Saying I'm not mad at you isn't a threat of force either. Quite the opposite.
Saying I'm not mad at you is not the opposite of force, by the way. I don't know if she knows the definition of words. That's not how opposites work. And by the way, the opposite of a force is a force. I know women in STEM or whatever, like not around, like not enough of it happening, but the opposite of a force is the opposite force. It's been that way since Isaac Newton. So saying it's the opposite of force is the opposite, really. That's still force, sweet cheeks. Maybe you didn't take physics.
The law is clear. ICE officers can't stop or detain drivers unless there is reasonable suspicion that the driver forcibly obstructed or interfered with them.
Whoa. That's not the rule. You just misstated it. It's reasonable suspicion that criminal activity related to immigration issues is afoot. It's a reduced standard, or it's not a reduced standard, but it's the it's MAP v. Ohio, or like the stop, not MAP v. Is it MAP v. Ohio? It's I can't think of what it's called for whatever reason. It's oh my God. A Terry versus Ohio. Wait. It's a Terry stop. Anyway, it's a short investigatory stop, and the standard is reasonable suspicion that criminal activity is afoot. Now, because they're federal ICE agents, it'd be reasonable suspicion that federal criminal activity is afoot. But that reasonable suspicion standard isn't hard. It's not hard to get to at all.
Minnesota judge recently issued a temporary restraining order telling ICE, knock it off.
And that judge's order was found to be unconstitutional. Did you miss that part, dummy?
Here, the ICE officer had no reasonable suspicion that Good was forcibly obstructing.
He had all sorts of reasonable suspicion about what matters, including forcible obstruction. There's a car there.
Or interfering with ICE, which means he had no authority to order her out of the car. Now, not only should this ICE officer be investigated for unlawfully ordering Good out of the car.
What was unlawful about the order? What was unlawful about the order for her to get out of the car? I'll wait. What's unlawful about it? Again, just saying words. What thing made that an unlawful command? It's a presumptively lawful order, actually. That would be the legal standard, or the legal application would be a presumptively lawful order until it is shown to be not lawful. Drex's Unused Baldo says, an ICE agent's favorite game is, are your windows tinted or do you just look brown? Let's find out. Yes.
But he should also be investigated for escalating this encounter in violation of DHS policy.
He didn't do that.
He yelled, he cursed.
He yelled and cursed. He yelled, he cursed. When? When was he yelling and the cursing? It was someone else saying, get out of the fucking car, by the way. That wasn't Officer Ross. Officer Ross circled the car. He didn't yell and curse.
He didn't warn her. He gave her mere...
He didn't need to warn her. What is this? I'm going to shoot you? I'm going to murder you, bitch. Like, at least he warned her.
Seconds to comply before he tried to open her door and reach inside her.
That wasn't him. You don't even know. That wasn't him. This bitch is... She has no idea. She has no concept. That wasn't him. That's not Officer Ross. Those are two other people.
Car, had he behaved more calmly, this shooting may not have happened.
Had she not driven her car when given a clear order to exit the vehicle, shooting wouldn't have happened. Well, may not. I mean, I guess they might have just shot her anyway. Maybe when she got out, they'd be like, oh, God, we got to just put it down.
Some people say Renee Good didn't follow orders. She got what was coming to her.
I mean, bullets were coming her way, and she did receive a few. So I guess that's true. She did get what was coming to her. Usually people do get what's coming to them. Like that's a thing that happens. I mean, they don't always want it in the end.
Let me be clear. That is not the law. Disobeying an order does not justify deadly force.
No one said it did. This is great. Like, again, this is just the bullshit that people just spew out. This is a prosecutor for 20 years, according to her.
But also, what if she was trying to follow orders? We've all heard the one ICE officer yell to Good, get out of the car, get out.
What if she was trying to follow orders when she started driving after being told to get out and having a guy reach inside her car to open the door? She's just trying to follow orders.
Out of the car, get out of the fucking car. But there's new evidence from 2 eyewitnesses that ICE told Good to leave. It's unclear from reporting who...
And she didn't. And then they gave her a new command to get out. You're no longer free to go. She was free to go and she chose not to. So now she's not. That's sometimes how that goes, by the way.
Allegedly said that and when. But if that's true, that she was also told to leave, then Good was in a no-win situation. She couldn't follow both orders.
Nope. She's in a very... I need you to go away. No, I'm not leaving. I'm telling you, you have to go away. No. Turn around and get handcuffed. I want to leave now. Too bad. Turn around and get handcuffed. You are now detained. You were not detained, and now you are. How does he follow both these orders? He doesn't. The first order is voided by the second, contrary, more serious order. The first order to go away, by the way, is not a lawful order. Police officer can't just order you to go away. Like, go away. No, like, I can be here. Unless you're, like, they can order you to stop being in a criminal position, like obstructing the road, right? They can order you to not do that. But they can't order you to, like, go. How far, officer? There. They can order you to move a reasonable amount to ensure officer safety during the conduct of, certain activity. That's it. They can't tell you to leave a place that's public.
To leave and get out of the car. Conflicting orders create confusion and chaos.
But the orders weren't in conflict. See, conflicting orders are one thing. A superseding order is different. That's not a conflict. That's resolved at that point. The superseding order wins. Get out of the car is a superseding order to drive away. Directs unused Baldo, which can't be an order. Directs unused Baldo's his plot twist. She didn't die from being shot. Her lesbian programming self-deleted after experiencing what it's like to take multiple loads from a straight masculine Chad for the first time in her life. No! You think that was the first time? I don't.
And if Officer Ross heard another officer tell Good to leave, then why would he reasonably believe that Good was trying to run him over as opposed to following that order to leave?
Because she's no longer allowed to leave. He doesn't. It's not that she's trying to run him over or not. It's that he can't know what she's doing. She might not have known what she was doing. Too bad. That's how you get killed.
These facts and circumstances matter in assessing whether the officer's actions were reasonable. That means gathering and reviewing all of the evidence, interviewing all of the eyewitnesses, and assessing their credibility. This is why you need an independent and impartial investigation.
Independent investigation? Independent of what? Independent of what? ICE allegedly murdered a lady. The investigation is conducted by the FBI. The FBI and ICE are not the same. That's an independent agency reviewing whether an officer acted outside of his duties. That's it. Why are they not independent? Why is this not impartial? What's the bias here? Does it behoove the Trump administration to have this guy acting one way or another? If he shot her in cold blood, that wouldn't be reflective of the Trump administration. He would have been acting outside of his duties.
Investigation. Third question. Did Officer Ross shoot Renee Good in self-defense?
Yes.
Put another way, was it reasonable for him to believe?
Yes, and defense of others, including Renee Good's wife, who is in danger as she was literally touching the car when Renee Good decided to drive. She had her hand on the handle. That puts her in danger. She could have been tugged to the ground and dragged. Anything could have happened. Run over.
If he was in imminent danger of death or serious injury so that he needed to shoot her. Let's look at this new New York Times video of what happened before Ross took the first shot.
Mr. Mike says, the ICE officers dropping F-bombs were unprofessional. some bitch tries to hit, like, I don't know, I'm not a cop, but if some bitch in a Walmart parking lot hits me with their car, I'm going to call her a fucking bitch. Even if I just shot her in the face, I can call her a fucking bitch. Unprofessional, who cares? Like, I don't care. And the actions of Officer Ross up to that point were entirely professional. If you want to impute unprofessionalism onto the guy saying, get the fuck out of the car, first of all, every cop I've ever met has said, get the fuck out of the car to somebody. So I'm not buying that that's not professional. But second of all, that wasn't Officer Ross. Officer Ross's fucking bitch statement came after he was literally struck by a car and had to shoot someone. Prior to that, he didn't call her names. He didn't tell her to get, he didn't yell at her or anything like that. That was other officers. And you can say that those other officers were bad or whatever. That's fine. But get the fuck out of the car is not a conflicting or unclear order. It's get the fuck out of the car. Saying that they told her to move along earlier is a conflicting order. She didn't do it. She didn't do it. If a cop tells you, if you stay here, I'm going to arrest you, and you stay there and then they arrest you, that's not a conflicting order. That's what that's what's going to happen. If she stays in the road like that, something bad is going to happen. She's being told to move and she chooses not to. She specifically stays there to block federal agents. I don't know why this is still, like, why am I arguing about this still? We know that's what happened. We watched it.
Here, the agent's cell phone footage shows he's moving directly in front of the SUV, as it's reversing and rotating towards him, initiating a 3-point turn, apparently to leave. Law enforcement officers are trained to avoid doing.
Apparently to leave. Apparently, we have no idea why she did it. We don't know if she was leaving or wanting to run over maliciously the officer. Maybe she was going to go buy donuts. Maybe she was trying to park and failed. We don't know. Everybody keeps saying we know what happened. We don't.
This because it puts them in danger and often leads to the use of force against drivers. This cell phone is focused squarely on Miss Good. She looks down, shifts into drive, and begins turning to the right, away from the agent. Cut to this high angle and zoom in. We can make out the agent's body and his arm filming. We can also see at the same time he's beginning to lift his other arm. On these cameras, we can see what's happening around Agent Ross. The other agent is yelling orders and reaching into Miss Good's SUV.
Very unclear, right? Yelling orders as if the orders aren't get out of the car. He's reaching into the SUV because, shocker, people lock the door so the police can't open from the outside. But when their window's down, you can reach in and grab the interior handle, and typically it will override the door lock and open, which is what he's obviously doing. And when his arm is in the car and she starts to drive, that is actually probably an assault of an officer at that point. But that puts anyone in danger.
I have a feeling this big-eyed lady has put people in prison for shit I never did, based on her delusional take on the Renee Good shooting.
Mr. Mike says, no. The very first order was an F-bomb command. No, actually, it wasn't. We were told that she was ordered to leave. So the very first order was not an F-bomb command. That came later from other officers than Officer Ross. And the ICE officers were in an unmarked vehicle. I believe it was unmarked, but I think there were lights. And they were open and notoriously ICE officers. Like, it's not like they didn't pull her over in an unmarked. They approached a vehicle. She knew that ICE officers were there. Jonathan Ross is an ICE officer that she waved around her car. I don't know where, like, this sudden thing is coming up where, like, that there was any illusion about who they were or what they were there for. All of this stuff is like, I don't know. To me, it's so obvious. Notice there haven't been charges, and the charging agency would be Minnesota for this or Alex Preddy. That's because ICE acted appropriately here. We don't want them killing people, but they did act correct.
Her front tire spins as she continues turning right. Agent Ross is at least a few feet away from Miss Good's SUV. He does not appear to move out of the way. As the
He's not required to move out of the way.
SUV rolls forward, the agent unholsters his firearm.
A middle-aged woman driving an SUV.
Yes, is as more dangerous, is as dangerous as a child driving an SUV, an old man driving an SUV, a young man, a young woman. What are you talking about? A car as a weapon is a force equalizer akin to a gun. What is this? Where are we? A middle-aged woman driving an SUV has killed thousands of people. That line has been at the start of thousands of deaths. Just like a young man driving a red car, right? Like that would be, I said young, so you know it's not me. But you know, like that has preceded thousands of deaths. There are lots of road fatalities. Her being a middle-aged woman has nothing to do with it.
Stuffed animals visible in the glove compartment.
Stuffed animals don't mean you're not going to get run. You know what? Stuffed animals visible in the glove compartment. Hold on. Do you understand how cars work? What are we talking about? What did she just say?
Move out of the way. As the SUV rolls forward, the agent unholsters his firearm.
A middle-aged woman driving an SUV. Stuffed animals visible in the glove compartment.
You're editing these. You're editing these and you still said something like that. Stuffed animals visible in the glove. Do you know what a glove compartment is? I don't recall seeing the glove compartment of this car. And why would it be like stuffed animals just hanging out of it? Like what's going on?
And a dog in the back seat. She smiled.
You know, if there's a dog in the back seat, actually no one's ever died with that set of circumstances.
She spoke calmly to the officer.
Who cares?
She backed up and turned her car to the right.
She's not allowed to. You're not allowed to. I'm gonna have to stop. I've been through these arguments a lot. I don't mean to go back into them. I just wanted to see how bad this woman's take was on the situation. It's worse than I thought. Because this was just a month ago. What date was this? Oh, 3 months ago. This is 3 months ago. My bad. I thought it was a month ago. So this is January 23rd. I don't know if I can watch any more of it. We might have to wrap up soon here anyway.
Away from the officer. He's shown in the video a few feet away from her.
Are you just going to skip the part where the car goes forward? He's a few feet away from her. Yeah, and then he's not. And then he's not. Because the car moves and hits him. Drex's unused Baldo says, Americans are confusing. It wasn't too long ago when we were told I was just following the orders wasn't an acceptable excuse. Did that get remanded at some point? No. It's still, I was just following orders is actually often an acceptable excuse.
In my view, she was not trying to hit him.
Depending on the order.
She looked like she was trying to leave. She certainly didn't look like she was dangerous.
What are you talking about? She was flooring it in a residential area with people all around her car. That's definitely dangerous. All right, guys. I can't do it anymore. I can't do it anymore. Look, we've had a good show, I think. I hope so. I hope you enjoyed it. If you think it was a good show, if you enjoyed it, please click the like button. Drop a comment once the video's done or now or whatever. Go ahead and do any of those things. I would really appreciate it. It helps out a lot. And we'll have more coming later this week. I got to step away and I got to get some sleep. Drex's Baldo says, wow, perfect proof that the ATF shoots people's dogs on purpose. You have a dog right behind / next to the target, and the ice chad only hits the leech on society. Give this man all the support. Exactly. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good night. Peace. Peace.
Oh, he drinks a fair bit, but you realize that it just helps get his noggin jogging along. With his glass by his side and his kids asleep tight, we'll hear some law-splaining tonight. With his microphone muted, we'll laugh at this boomer until he explains it's all part of the plan. Watch his face become redder as he becomes meta, raging at idiots from Twitterland. From the white shores of Maine to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, his lady is fair, and she handles herself with the grace of one who has borne many children. As the wife of a lawman, she makes sure that he has the time and the place to provide for them there. So pour out an Ardbeg, a Balmore, a Lafroig. The spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the law what we have now. Oh, the guests are all plentiful, from Dundee to Drexel. They bring their perspective and spice to the mix. But the reason we're here and the one that we cheer is the one who is showcasing us his career. Get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea post on Twitter as we hear law-splaining tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the law better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed